Chapter 851. No matter who it is, neither side is allowed to send out Emperor Wu's experts. They also cannot allow Emperor Wu to exist in this realm. If a battle breaks out, neither side is allowed to send Emperor Wu down. The Sky Dome realm will belong to whoever wins it. However, the agreement must still be fulfilled. When Xiaochen heard that, he could not help but laugh hoarsely. When he was still in Mo City's demonic beast forest and was only a martial disciple, he had fantasized about the protection of the three holy masters. Now that he thought about it, he had been too naive. What demonic calamity! It was just a game that the major characters of both sides agreed on. The masses were like chess pieces at their mercy. Only by grasping absolute strength and jumping out of this game could one be qualified to control one's own fate and see the true nature of this world. However, I'm not sure why the Bushin Palace and the demonic world came to this agreement. It has to do with the destruction of the Dragon's Gate 10,000 years ago, Old Feng continued. Clearly, he did not know that Xiaochen had already acknowledged his identity as a descendant of the Qing Emperor in the Kunlun realm. Xiaochen smiled and did not continue this topic. He stood up and said, "Many thanks for Old Feng's hospitality. I plan to make a trip to the Tianwu Emperor's grave, so I'll take my leave first." Old Feng was not surprised by this. He had absolute confidence in Xiaochen's strength. Now that Emperor Wu did not appear in the Sky Dome realm, he could not think of anyone who could stop Xiaochen. In that case, I won't send you off. If not for the fact that I have to oversee the sect, this old man would also like to take a look at the excitement. After leaving the Haotian sect, Xiaochen executed Thunder Dragon steps. With one step, space instantly tore apart. Compared to the spatial structure of the Kunlun realm, the Sky Dome realm was like paper. Xiaochen immediately entered the void. Xiaochen moved at lightning speed through space. Occasionally, he tore a crack in space to see where he was going. In less than 4 hours, Xiaochen traveled from the Great Jin Nation to the sky above Desolate City's hidden Dragon Lake. There was no obstruction in space. His speed was startlingly fast. Rumble! The scene before them was a little frightening. Black thunderclouds gathered in the sky above the Qianlong Lake. Lightning bolts as thick as water buckets rained down on the Qianlong Lake. Waves rolled and the sky changed color. The void was easily torn apart by the lightning. The lake water splashed everywhere, and the originally flat lake surface was ravaged into a tragic sight. Xiaochen frowned slightly as he looked at the descending lightning bolt. If it had landed on him, he would not have been able to withstand it. It seemed like the Frost Flood Dragon was really in danger this time. With a flash of light, Xiaochen directly fell into the final entrance lake, avoiding the lightning bolts and descending towards the tomb of the Celestial the Arch. When Xiaochen landed in the middle of the lake, a man wearing Tianwu royal robes and carrying a sword on his back revealed a surprised expression. He muttered, "Why is he back at this time?" The world under the water was a completely different world. Xiaochen hovered in the air, not in a rush to land. He watched as the bolts of lightning entered the cold pool beside the celestial Thearcha's tomb. A mournful and aged roar came from inside continuously, shaking everyone's eardrums and causing them to feel a sense of sorrow for no reason. This was not like an absolute expert fighting against the heavens, filled with boundless sharpness and heroism. It was more like an old man who had lived for a very long time, struggling at death's door, expressing the final dissatisfaction in his heart. That voice contained an indescribable obsession, an indescribable sorrow, and an emotion that moved one's expression. Those who were not close friends would not be able to understand. The world had its own cycle of reincarnation. No matter what kind of creature one was, no matter how strong one was, one would not be able to escape death in the end. The heavenly Tao was like a sword hanging above everyone's head. No one could break that sword with a punch. It looked like Old Feng was right. This Frost Flood Dragon had lived for too long. It had already been more than 20,000 years since the Tianwu dynasty was established. The Frost Flood Dragon had already exhausted its luck. It would be impossible for it to undergo its tribulation and become an ice true dragon at this time. When Xiaochen looked to the front, he saw several figures standing at the limits of his vision. Their eyes filled with incomparable excitement. Clearly, they knew about this as well. This old dragon had been standing guard here for a very long time, causing many people with ill intentions to return in defeat. Today, it was finally going to die. What kind of secrets did the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's tomb hide? It was finally going to be revealed. Like these people, Xiao Chen was very curious about the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's tomb. He felt boundless anticipation in his heart. However, when he arrived here and heard the sorrowful roars of that old dragon, he could not help but be moved. Those who were not close friends would not be able to understand the meaning behind these words. Xiao Chen did not know if he could be considered a close friend or not. However, he could understand the helplessness contained in these sorrowful roars. What helplessness? It was the helplessness of not being able to fulfill the promise of the first-generation Tianwu Emperor. It was the helplessness of seeing through everything in the world and standing at the peak of the Sky Dome realm. In the end, he still could not escape death. It was the obsession in his heart, unable to let go of this first-generation Tianwu Emperor's tomb. Helplessness, helplessness, helplessness. The rumbling thunder turned into malevolent lightning that tore through the sky and space, mercilessly falling into that cold pool. Xiao Chen raised his head and looked into the distance. There were dozens of martial sages standing there. Their faces were all filled with extreme excitement. They were all very tense, not even daring to breathe loudly. Xiao Chen's gaze moved between the cold pool and the distance. He shook his head slightly and slowly moved back. For some reason, he lost interest in this Tianwu Emperor's tomb. He simply did not want to profane the obsession of an old dragon that it had guarded for 20,000 years. Just as Xiao Chen's figure was about to enter the lake, thousands of purple lightning bolts gathered together and turned into a bolt of golden lightning. It was as straight as a javelin, descending from the sky. Before it landed, the entire space trembled intensely. Countless pitch-black cracks spread out in all directions like a spiderweb from where the lightning landed. The entire space seemed to shatter. Kasi. The cracks were like tentacles reaching Xiao Chen. However, a formless force stopped them, preventing them from advancing at all. This old dragon is finished. Xiao Chen sighed softly as he looked at the cold pool, not even bothering to look at the horrifying cracks in front of him. Boom! The golden lightning instantly entered the cold pool, and the intense roars stopped. The hidden dragon lake finally regained its calm. Amidst the silence, a great destruction silently occurred. After a while, beams of green light came out of the cold pool, looking as beautiful as fireflies in summer. When the spots of light landed on the ground, the desolate land beside the Tianwu Emperor's tomb immediately sprouted lush green flowers and grass. Suddenly, this barren land flourished with life. The old dragon was dead. Its long life essence was quickly dispersing. This was a miraculous scene for everyone. The flowers and grass on the ground grew wildly. A great world filled with spiritual energy and a dazzling array of flowers appeared in this serene land. Just as everyone marveled at this miraculous scene, a dragon pillar floated out of the cold pool. It gave off a bright light, resplendent like the sun, so piercing that it hurt the eyes. The expressions of everyone around the Tianwu Emperor's tomb changed drastically. They felt an apocalyptic force, like it was going to blast the entire desolate city into rubble. Oh no, this old dragon is still restless even before its death. It wants to blow up the entire desolate city and bury everything. It's over. We can't escape. This energy sealed off the surrounding space. We can't get out at all. The many martial sages that soared up returned after hitting a wall. This time, they were truly anxious. Their faces turned ashen, and boundless despair filled their hearts. However, after waiting for a while, they discovered that the dragon pearl had mysteriously vanished. The energy sealing off the space also vanished without a trace. This startled me. It turned out to be a feint. I knew it. This old dragon was struck half dead by lightning. How could it have the strength to do this? The surrounding martial sages released their bated breath at the same time. Then, they sized up the Tianwu Emperor's tomb once more. The despair on their faces vanished, replaced by boundless fanaticism. Whoosh, whoosh. The figures of the martial sages flashed as they rushed towards the Tianwu Emperor's tomb. However, just as the group arrived near the Tianwu Emperor's tomb, electric light flashed, and a white figure suddenly appeared above the tomb. Everyone, please return. This Tianwu Emperor's tomb is not something you can open yet. The sudden appearance of the white figure startled everyone. The number of martial sages in the Sky Dome realm was limited. In this circle, everyone would know each other. Even if they did not know each other, they would at least have heard of the other party's name. They would not be completely ignorant. However, they had never heard of such a young martial sage with an unfathomable cultivation. Little friend, where are you from? Will you report your name? The great Jin nation's 8 noble clans clan head asked when he saw Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. It had only been 2 years, yet no one recognized him. This was strange. Actually, Xiao Chen did not know that his appearance had not changed in the Kunlun realm during the past 2 years. Instead, his aura had undergone an earth-shattering change. The Sky Dome realm's white-robed bladesman was low-key and reserved, hiding his sharpness. He appeared calm on the surface but proud on the inside. At this moment, Xiao Chen displayed his sharpness wantonly. Furthermore, he possessed the bloodline of an overlord. This invisibly influenced his aura. With one glance, he looked like a powerful treasure saber, resplendent and dazzling. Xiao Chen appeared sharp, but his heart was as calm as still water. This was a great change from before. Furthermore, many people had not seen him before, so it was normal that they could not recognize him. Only the Bai clan's clan head and the Sima clan's clan head, Sima Hong, showed uncertain expressions, finding him somewhat familiar. However, they could not connect Xiao Chen's changed temperament to the white-robed bladesman of the past. Furthermore, they were not willing to believe that a martial monarch could become a martial sage in a mere 2 years. This was too shocking. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and looked at the several dozen martial sages in front. He said, "My family name is Xiao, and my name is Chen. You should have heard of my name before. I remember that I even fought with some of you personally. What's wrong? It has only been 2 years, and you have already forgotten about this Xiao's existence?" Chapter 852. Whoosh! The entire place was shocked. Several people looked at Xiao Chen with expressions of disbelief. Xiao Chen was the white-robed bladesman who won consecutive victories in the 5-nation youth competition. Back then, in the final battle, he had caused the surrounding dragon veins to tremble. Xiao Chen's name had spread throughout the entire Tianwu continent along with the true dragon ranking. The boundless sea spoke of his deeds. Xiao Chen came from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, an unranked sect. However, he advanced rapidly, defeating all sorts of experts before finally reaching the peak. In less than 3 years, he had actually returned from the Kunlun realm. Furthermore, he had advanced to martial sage, a cultivation that these old fellows could only achieve in 100 or 200 years. Sima Hong paled slightly. Unexpectedly, it really is him. The fellow that I once smacked half to death with one palm strike really returned. If I do not die, I will definitely wash the Sima clan in blood in the future. Sima Hong could not help but feel fear when he saw Xiao Chen's current cultivation. His body trembled slightly. After hesitating for a while, he prepared to turn around and leave. Sima Hong, if you have the guts, then take one more step. Xiao Chen's gaze was like lightning, revealing its sharpness as he shouted coldly at Sima Hong. Sima Hong was slightly stunned and felt somewhat guilty. Then he perked himself up and said, "Xiao Chen, don't think that you can speak arrogantly just because you are a martial sage. Do you really want to wash the Sima clan in blood? With the accumulations of my Sima clan, if we really fall out, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will not have a good time either." The other martial sages could not help but show complicated expressions. Back then, Sima Hong had disregarded his status and caused a huge commotion in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, causing the deaths of many juniors. In the end, he was slapped in the face. That was a matter that shook the entire place. Sima Hong would never have imagined that the minor character who could not even last one move against him back then would have a cultivation that even he could not see through in less than 3 years. Xiao Chen's lips curled up into a smile. He said, "Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor." Back then, You killed and injured countless disciples of my heavenly saber pavilion. Don't worry, I will only place this debt on you. Although my heart is cold, I am not someone who will kill the innocent. Back then, you gave me a sword strike and beat me half to death. Today, I will only ask you one question. Do you dare to take one finger from me and settle this grudge? There was a boundless sharpness in his eyes, but his heart was as calm as still water. Xiao Chen looked at Sima Hong and quietly waited for his answer. A storm is brewing and thunderclouds are pressing down on the city. I only have one question. Do you dare to take a finger from me? One finger? All the Sky Dome realm martial sages present could not help but mutter to themselves, it is just one finger. This Xiao Chen overestimates himself. Could it be that Xiao Chen thought that he could kill Sima Hong with a single finger? How old was Sima Hong? How old was Xiao Chen? Even if you, Xiao Chen, advanced to martial sage in the Kunlun realm and is much stronger than in the Sky Dome realm, how old are you? However, wanting to defeat Sima Hong with a single finger was no different from a fantasy. Sima Hong's expression changed. He said coldly, "Fellow Taoists, listen up." He said it himself. Receive one finger from him and settle this grudge. The martial sages who were on good terms with Sima Hong all spoke up for him. Xiao Chen, when a man speaks, his words carry enormous weight. Don't immediately go back on what you said. That's right. Otherwise, even if you become Emperor Wu in the future, breaking your promise will be a stain on your life. Xiao Chen's delicate face remained as calm as an ancient well. He said calmly, I said one finger, and it is one finger. Sima Hong, I'm only asking if you dare to take it or not. What a joke. If I do not even dare to take one finger from you, I, Sima Hong, have lived so long in vain. Sima Hong did not show any fear. It was just one finger. At most, he would only suffer some minor injuries. He, Sima Hong, was a peak medial grade martial sage. Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. Even at death's door, he is still so arrogant. He is truly looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. He does not know how vast the sky outside is. Xiao Chen instantly activated his overlord bloodline, and the 300-odd heavenly sage laws in his body swam around like a river. Rumble. The sound of surging water in Xiao Chen's body caused thunder to rumble everywhere. The purple lightning talisman in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness spun quickly. The will of thunder infused into the heavenly sage laws and poured into his fingertip. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and pointed. A strand of saber chi shot out from his fingertip, and the ethereal saber soul in his sea of consciousness came out as well. The purple saber chi was like a beautiful light. It gathered Xiao Chen's will of thunder, 90% comprehended saber intent, and 80% comprehended lightning-attributed energy from the 300 heavenly sage laws. First, an extremely resplendent purple light lit up at the tip of Xiao Chen's fingertip. Kasu. The space in front instantly shattered. The entire space shattered into tens of thousands of shards, looking like a mirror. When Sima Hong saw that resplendent light, his heart instantly sank. He knew he was gravely mistaken, and he turned ashen in fear. The heavenly sage laws in his body quickly left his body. He quickly formed hand seals and formed layers of light barriers in front of him, trying to block this finger. There were many heavenly sage laws, no less than 500 of them. However, every one of them was not even as thick as a pinky finger. They were far from comparable to some inferior grade martial sages of the Kunlun realm. Pu Ci. The purple saber light flashed. Sima Hong's defenses were like paper, they did not have any defensive effect at all. Blood filled the air as the saber chi pierced through Sima Hong's body. As space shattered, he shattered into thousands of shards, dying without a complete corpse. With one finger, space collapsed. Sima Hong did not even have a chance to make a sound before he died silently. Xiao Chen withdrew his hand and stood upright. Everywhere that strand of saber chi passed, space already collapsed, turning into shards that looked like mirrors drifting around. The other martial sages were so frightened that they broke out in a cold sweat. The horror in their eyes was indescribable. What kind of horrifying strength was this? The medial-grade martial sages of the Sky Dome realm could not resist at all before Xiaochen. In reality, it was not that Xiaochen was too strong. Instead, it was that these Sky Dome realm martial sages were too weak. Compared to the Kunlun realm martial sages, their accumulations were simply too lacking. The difference was like clouds and mud. Furthermore, Xiaochen comprehended the will of thunder, and his saber intent reached peak 90% comprehension. It already had the shape of a soul. While this finger strike looked casual, it contained close to 80% of Xiaochen's strength. He did not intend to let Sima Hong live. More importantly, Xiaochen wanted to use this finger strike to deter the other martial sages from having any designs on the Heavenly Emperor's grave. The drifting shards of space in front started to piece back together. Xiaochen scattered his aura and said calmly, "I've dealt with my personal matters. Let's continue with the proper business. It is not time to open the Heavenly Emperor's grave yet. Everyone, please return." Xiaochen had said the same thing earlier. His tone and attitude had not changed at all. However, the effect this time was immediate. Most of the martial sages left in an instant. They had no choice but to leave. Just look at Sima Hong's miserable death. This old man congratulates Brother Xiaochen on obtaining the Heavenly Emperor's grave. Soon, this old man will definitely pay the Heavenly Saber Pavilion a visit. A voice projection rang out in Xiaochen's mind. It was the sect master of the Haotian sect's Sky Dome realm branch. Xiaochen smiled bitterly in his heart. Most people probably did not believe him when he said that the Heavenly Emperor's grave was not suitable to be opened. However, Xiaochen could not be bothered to explain. He sent a voice projection back and said, "Senior is too serious." The martial sages slowly scattered. Soon, only Xiaochen remained. He sighed silently. A pearl radiating a strong cold qi appeared in Xiaochen's hand. It was the dragon pearl that gave off a bright light earlier. "Xiaochen, are you really not going to take a look and see what is in the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's grave? This Tianwu Emperor is a mysterious person. We might not even know if he is dead or not. As long as we open the coffin and take a look, we will know everything." Ao Jiao spoke softly from the immortal spirit ring. Xiaochen glanced at the Heavenly Emperor's grave in the lush greenery below. He said, "Never mind. Since I made a promise to that old dragon, I will help him complete his unfulfilled promise." Earlier, when the dragon pearl was about to explode, even Xiaochen, who was hiding in the lake, was startled. Just as he prepared to tear space and leave, the dragon pearl flew into his hand with a schwatch sound. However, the dragon pearl flew into his hand with a schwatch sound, causing him to be shocked. It turned out that the dragon pearl contained a trace of the old dragon's remnant soul. The old dragon entrusted Xiaochen to continue guarding the Heavenly Emperor's grave and not let anyone open it. Xiaochen could not agree completely. He could only promise to do his best to guard the Heavenly Emperor's grave before he left the Sky Dome realm. After he left, he would be too far away to do anything. Fortunately, the old dragon was very straightforward. If there was no time to guard it, he would tear the Heavenly Emperor's grave into the void and destroy it. This was a strand of remnant soul in the first place. After it spoke, it stopped breathing, leaving only the dragon pearl in Xiaochen's hand. Xiaochen stretched out his hand, and the universe flags appeared in his grasp. Then he waved his hand. 72 formation flags flew out, and Xiaochen formed hand seals with both hands, preparing to set up restrictions to seal this place. Interesting. Unexpectedly, the first-generation Tianwu Emperor's grave ended up being guarded by a descendant of the Qing Emperor. It looks like there really is such a thing as fate. A clear voice resounded. Chu Chaoyun descended from the sky and arrived in front of Xiaochen. Chu Chaoyun wore the ancient uniform of the Tianwu dynasty. His expression today was strangely solemn, a stark contrast to his usual carefree demeanor. Xiaochen felt somewhat surprised at Chu Chaoyun's appearance. However, he soon understood. Given Chu Chaoyun's identity as a descendant of the Tianwu dynasty, it was impossible for him not to know about today's matter. "Are you going to open this Heavenly Emperor's grave? If so, I'm afraid things will not go as you wish." Xiaochen waved his hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his left hand. Chu Chaoyun's lips curled up in a smile as he took a step forward. He said, "Don't you want to know whether the first-generation Tianwu emperor is dead or not? Speaking of which, this is a secret that even I do not know." Xiao Chen stared at the other party. The leaping sharpness turned into a gentle breeze that fluttered his clothes and hair. The Neptune headscarf on his forehead made his heart calm. Chapter 853. Xiao Chen placed his right hand on his saber hilt and said, "Don't get any closer. I do not want to know this secret. What I want to know is why you went to the demonic world and mingled with the demons." Demonic world? Chu Chaoyun revealed a grave expression. He said, "That place can be considered a demonic world for now. Why did you mingle with them?" The reason is simple. I need to comprehend the will of darkness. I need the martial techniques of the demon race. I need strength. Like you, I need to continuously grow stronger. I once said that there would be a battle between you and me. However, it is not now. In the end, we are people of the same path. After saying that, Chu Chaoyun knelt on the ground with its plop. Then he kowtowed 3 times in the direction of the cold pool. His lips curled up as he muttered something that only he could hear. The divine dragon protecting the nation was also dead. The final witness of the Tianwu dynasty had vanished from this world. After kowtowing 3 times, Chu Chaoyun stood up and left. After walking for 100 meters, he suddenly stopped and turned around. "I can guess some of your reasons for returning to the Sky Dome realm. Why don't you make a trip to the Dark Church? Perhaps you will learn something unexpected there." The 72 formation flags returned to the ground. Xiao Chen glanced at the dragon pearl containing overwhelming energy in his hand and placed it in his universe ring. Then, he thought back to what Chu Chaoyun said at the end. Xiao Chen said, "Ao Jiao, how trustworthy do you think Chu Chaoyun's words are?" Ao Jiao said bluntly, "I feel that he is purposely trying to lead you to the Sky Dome realm's Dark Church. Does he have a grudge with the Sky Dome realm's Dark Church?" Xiao Chen said sullenly, "I think the same. However, the headquarters of the Dark Church is in the deep abyss demonic world. A branch in the Sky Dome realm should not be worth mentioning. Yet Chu Chaoyun places so much importance on it. Perhaps there is something extraordinary about it." Although he knew that Chu Chaoyun was trying to lure him there on purpose, Xiao Chen's curiosity was still aroused. "Where are we going now? Heavenly Saber Pavilion or Mo City?" Xiao Chen looked around and said, "Let's go and visit Yu Chenxi's and Gong Yangyu's elders first. There are still some things that I have to deliver first." Even though Xiao Chen was very anxious in his heart, wanting to return to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and see the girl he had hidden in his heart, as well as his clansmen in the distant Mo River. However, he had to complete his friend's request first. When the 2 elders heard about Yu Chenxi and Gong Yangyu's situation in the Kunlun realm, they felt very gratified. Xiao Chen chatted for a while and politely rejected the gifts from the 2 elders. Then, he rushed to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. With his current speed, it would not be an exaggeration to say that he came and went like a bolt of lightning under the void-breaking realm. Before the sun completely set, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion at the foot of the Lingyun mountain range appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. There was an endless stream of disciples coming and going at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Chen casually extended his spiritual sense and covered most of the sect, taking in everything. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion had changed a lot. Not only did the number of disciples increase, but there was also a change in their mentality. Xiao Chen shifted his gaze to Qingyun Peak. Halfway up the mountain, he saw a familiar figure teaching the female disciples how to practice the saber. This person was none other than Lu Suifeng. However, Xiao Chen was surprised to see Chu Xinyun beside him. The 2 of them had an intimate expression on their faces, and their words were very ambiguous. Xiao Chen sighed and smiled. It has been a few years. Suifeng finally got what he wanted. When the sun was about to set completely, the disciples at the middle of the mountain all took their leave. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he silently broke through many restrictions and landed beside the 2. Lu Suifeng and Yun Kersen were startled. They quickly moved back and instantly drew their weapons. Then, they looked cautiously at the person who arrived. When Lu Suifeng clearly saw Xiao Chen's appearance, he exclaimed in pleasant surprise, "Xiao Chen, why are you back?" However, Chu Xinyun pulled Lu Suifeng back and said, "Wait a moment. Can't you make out his cultivation? Furthermore, why would Xiao Chen return to the Sky Dome realm at this time for no reason? A girl's thoughts were usually more meticulous. Lu Suifeng was very carefree. When he saw Xiao Chen appear, he did not think much of it. When he heard what Chu Xinyun said, he put his guard up. This person before him had an unfathomable cultivation. Based on his aura, he was much stronger than his martial granduncles. How could he be related to Xiao Chen, who left 2 years ago? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and took out the lunar shadow saber. Then he casually tossed it to Lu Suifeng, not bothering to explain. Lu Suifeng held the pitch-black scabbard in his hand and sized it up. If this was not Xiao Chen's personal treasure saber, what else could it be? Xiao Chen, it really is you. Lu Suifeng exclaimed in pleasant surprise as he handed the lunar shadow saber back. Xiao Chen smiled calmly and said, Junior Sister Chu, you are as meticulous as before. However, why are you not tending to the herb garden but coming to Qingyun Peak to teach martial techniques to your juniors? Chu Xinyun smiled apologetically and said, Sorry, senior brother Xiao Chen. I was blind and did not recognize you. Xinyun married me half a year ago. Now, she is married to Qingyun Peak and is managing the matters of the peak together with me, Lu Suifeng said happily. When Xiao Chen heard this, he felt disappointed and frustrated. Lu Suifeng was married as well. He took out 2 sage-grade secret treasures and a bottle of rank 9 medicinal pills and handed them over. Consider this a belated congratulatory gift. Lu Suifeng did not stand on ceremony with Xiao Chen. He immediately received them and tossed them to Chu Xinyun. He said, Come, let's talk inside. We have not seen each other for more than 2 years. Let's drink to our heart's content. Chu Xinyun received the 2 sage-grade secret treasures and took a look. Then, her expression turned strange. She wanted to warn Lu Suifeng, but he and Xiao Chen had already gone far away. Chu Xinyun could not help but smile bitterly. If Lu Suifeng knew these were 2 sage-grade secret treasures, he would not have accepted them so casually. At the stone table in the courtyard, Xiao Chen heard Lu Suifeng introduce the matters of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He asked, Where is Ryue? Is she not at Qingyun Peak? Lu Suifeng drained the wine in his cup and answered, She left long ago. Qingyun Peak regained its former prestige. After she handed Qingyun Peak to me to manage, she left with Princess Yingyu. Half a year ago, she, Miss Feng, and Princess Yingyu appeared at my wedding with Kursin. Since Xiao Chen was with Yingyu, there was no need to worry about his safety. However, he did not know why the 3 of them were together. Lu Suifeng did not know much either. He said, I'm not sure about the details. However, given Princess Yingyu's character, there is no need to worry. Xiao Chen nodded slightly. However, he felt somewhat disappointed in his heart. On his return to the Sky Dome realm, the person he wanted to see the most was naturally Lu Ryue. This was even more important than figuring out why he was chased out of his clan back then. However, it was fine to be with Yingyu. After all, he would not return until he broke through to the 7th layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. He had plenty of time. News of Xiao Chen killing Sima Hong would spread soon. At that time, Lu Ryue should rush back. Late at night, Xiao Chen instructed Lu Suifeng not to spread the news of his appearance. Then, he started walking around Qingyun Peak alone. Xiao Chen had studied at Qingyun Peak for 2 years. He was familiar with everything in Qingyun Peak: the flowers, plants, pavilions, terraces, and buildings. Along the way, he could not help but reminisce when he saw several places. That waterfall was where he cultivated the dragon and tiger north art. The forest at the back of the mountain was where he comprehended the Lingyun saber technique. The tree branches that Xiao Chen chopped off back then had already changed. The people practicing the saber in the forest were also a group of girls, most of them 14 or 15 years old. Even though it was late at night, they did not give up. The peach blossoms remained the same, but the people had changed. Xiao Chen continued walking and arrived at the place whereby took human form. When he thought about how much pain that girl had to endure to undergo her tribulation to take human form, he felt a heartache. Xiao Chen silently walked under the moonlight, not startling anyone as he arrived at the summit of Qingyun Peak. In the dark night, Xiaochen saw the tallest, nameless peak in the Lingyun mountain range. Xiaochen could not help but reveal a smile. He thought about how childish he was when he confessed on that peak. If it were a regular girl, she would have run away in fright. Xiaochen gently leaped off Qingyun Peak and walked around the heavenly saber pavilion. Some of the familiar sceneries stirred up some memories in him. The things that were hidden in his memories appeared in his mind like a black and white movie. Xiaochen walked to the heaven-ascending platform. That battle was the battle that made his name known throughout the great Qi nation. Thinking about it now, he felt a lofty sentiment in his heart. Unknowingly, Xiaochen had not noticed that along the way, his mental state had become complete once again. Xiaochen had always been walking forward on the path of cultivation, but he had never looked back. Now that he was carefully sorting out his past and distancing himself from the intense competition in the Kunlun realm, he had gained something else. One who had traveled all over the mountains would not grow old. The lofty sentiments in one's heart would never fade. Xiaochen returned to his courtyard and started to cultivate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. He had already reached the bottleneck of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 6th layer. It was no longer as unreachable as before. Xiaochen could feel that he was getting closer and closer to the horrifying lightning tribulation and the even more horrifying heart tribulation. It was hard to say whether he could survive it or not. This was the greatest danger he had encountered since he started cultivating. If he was not careful, he might die. If he could survive it, he would break out of his cocoon and become a butterfly. He would be reborn and walk a path that no one had ever walked before. When the first ray of sunlight broke through the last trace of darkness before dawn, the entire heavenly saber pavilion came to life. The sounds of people practicing in the morning merged into one, displaying a flourishing vitality. Xiaochen opened his eyes and stood at the bottom of the cliff, taking in everything. The disciples of the 7 peaks of the heavenly saber pavilion practiced the saber techniques they learned under the supervision of the peak elders. Xiaochen withdrew his gaze and looked up. The smile on his face slowly froze as he sighed softly. There was still a cliff at the summit of Qingyun Peak. Above the cliff was the true peak of Qingyun Peak. However, no one had been there for many years. The new Qingyun Peak disciples did not know that there was an old man sealed in ice at the top. He had used his life to seal a high-ranked cultivator of the demonic world. Given Xiaochen's current strength, this ice seal was nothing. If he had his current strength back then, Lu Ryue's father would not have ended up like that. Chapter 854. Whoosh! An azure light flashed, and a figure headed in Xiaochen's direction. When Xiaochen saw who it was, he was not surprised. This was the only person in the heavenly saber pavilion who could discover him. This junior, Xiaochen, greets Senior Leng, Xiaochen said sincerely as he bowed respectfully. The person who came was the younger brother of the previous sect master, the current wielder of the heavenly universe realm, Leng Tianhe. This person had once saved Xiaochen's life. Even though Xiaochen no longer feared Leng Tianhe with his current strength, he still had to show proper etiquette. The debt of saving his life was greater than the heavens. He had to remember it for life, never to forget it. Leng Tianhe frowned slightly. He was not surprised at Xiaochen's current strength at all. He showed some joy and some disappointment at the same time. Why did you return to the Sky Dome realm at this time? Did the competition in the Kunlun realm make you shrink back? Or is it because of love and Fang Busha's worries? Leng Tianhe asked as he hovered in midair. Xiaochen had nothing to hide from Leng Tianhe, so he explained his situation in detail. Heart tribulation? I have heard of berserking qi deviation quite often. However, I really do not know what a heart tribulation is. It feels like the tribulation that immortal cultivators undergo. Leng Tianhe's expression turned much warmer. He found the heart tribulation unfamiliar. He had never heard of it before. Lightning tribulation and heart tribulation. Kid, just what kind of cultivation technique are you cultivating? You might as well change to another cultivation technique. With your talent, it is not too late to start cultivating again. The risk of undergoing a tribulation is too great. Xiaochen smiled faintly and tactfully rejected Leng Tianhe's suggestion. Naturally, he knew that he could avoid this tribulation by changing to another cultivation technique and suffering some losses. However, he had never thought about it. He had not even considered it at all. There was no other choice. He would fight to the death and then be reborn. If he did not even have the courage to fight to the death, the drive in his heart would be completely gone. Even if he could reach Emperor Wu in the future, he would not be able to become a sovereign martial emperor. Let's not talk about this anymore. Senior Lung, I brought some things this time. Xiao Chen waved his hand, and 30-odd rank 3 spirit veins origins flew out of the immortal spirit ring before Ao Jiao's extremely unhappy gaze. The surrounding spiritual energy instantly became 10 times denser. A spiritual fog spread out from the mountain peaks. When the sunlight shone down, it reflected all sorts of colors. Lung Tianhe exclaimed in shock, These are spirit vein origins. Furthermore, they are all rank 3. How can you have so many spirit vein origins? Given your strength, you would not have obtained so many spirit veins in the Luan sect. Lung Tianhe was right. If not for the fact that the older generation cultivators could not enter the Sage Mark Monument and that they had tricked the Ghost race and the Corpse race, they would not have been able to enter. Chen would not. Chen he would not. Chen he. If Xiao Chen wanted to obtain so many spirit veins origins in the future, he would not have such a good opportunity. Xiao Chen did not explain. He said, if Senior had not made a move back then, I would have died long ago. These 30 spirit veins will not be enough to repay you for saving my life back then. However, they are a token of my sincerity. I hope Senior will not reject them. Lung Tianhe laughed heartily. He stretched out his hand and collected the 30 spirit veins. Then he said, Reject? Ha! In that case, I would really be muddle-headed. Xiao Chen, it is all thanks to you this time. Right now, the number of people in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion has already reached a bottleneck. This is because of the limited resources. These 30 spirit veins of yours are sufficient to ensure that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will not have to worry for 1,000 years. At that time, the Sky Dome realm will have new spirit veins. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Senior Lung's straightforwardness suited his temperament. Then, Xiao Chen thought of something and asked, Senior, do you know what Lu Riyue did with Princess Yingyu? When Lung Tianhe heard this, he smiled bitterly and said, This girl is too proud. I already told her that if she could form ties with you, you would definitely not forget her. If you become a martial emperor in the future, you will definitely not forget her. However, she did not listen and insisted on going on experiential training, saying that she wanted to give it her all. The royal courts of the various nations are not allowed to participate in the 5-nation youth competition. You should know this, right? Xiao Chen nodded to indicate that he understood. This was not a secret. The royal courts of the various nations all controlled a secret realm. They could not compete with the other sects for resources. As for what kind of secret realm it was, Xiao Chen did not know. Given Xiao Chen's position in the past, it would have been difficult for him to find out such secrets. Lung Tianhe continued, the secret realms of the various nations are actually all connected to one place. However, they occupy different areas. This secret realm is known as the Sky Dome Immortal Realm. Although the spiritual energy and fortuitous encounters there cannot compare to those in the Kunlun realm, they are still much stronger than those in the outside world. It looks like the Sky Dome Immortal Realm has some connection to the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. I will wait for another month, but if there is still no news, I will personally make a trip there. Xiao Chen thought to himself, since Riyue wants to compete, I will help her obtain all the fortuitous encounters in this Sky Dome Immortal Realm. However, before that there was one more thing to do. Xiao Chen asked Lung Tianhe more about the Sky Dome Immortal Realm. The two chatted for a long time on the summit. After staying at Qingyun Peak for half a month, Xiao Chen spoke to Lu Suifeng before flying to Thunder Emperor Valley. Several old men still sat cross-legged in Thunder Emperor Valley, quietly comprehending the immortal will of thunder that had not scattered for 1,000 years. This lightning was a mysterious phenomenon that appeared automatically when Sang Mu advanced to martial emperor. Be it the murals of the Thunder King on both sides of the valley or the golden lightning in the sky, they were all born of nature. Xiao Chen looked down and his eyes lit up. He could not help but smile gently. Unexpectedly, the old men that he sent into the sea back then were still there. Based on their auras, these old men had already comprehended the state of thunder to its limits. This time, Xiaochen did not chase them away in a tyrannical manner. He hovered in the air and waited quietly for 3 days. When he opened his eyes, he could no longer see anyone in Thunder Emperor Valley. When the group of old men on the sea saw Xiaochen descend, they all sighed. Half a month ago, the news of Xiaochen returning to the Sky Dome realm and killing Sima Hong with one finger swept through the entire Sky Dome realm like a whirlwind, shaking up the surroundings. Back then, that white-robed bladesman had gained such a horrifying cultivation in less than 3 years. Several people had fought with him or seen him make a move. They were all extremely shocked, unable to calm down for a long time. Back then, these old men had tried to take advantage of their seniority to chase Xiaochen away. However, Xiaochen taught them a ruthless lesson. Back then, these old men might not have been convinced. Now, even if they were not convinced, they had to accept it. Xiaochen was someone who could kill Sima Hong with one finger. What did they count for? What is he doing in Thunder Emperor Valley? I heard that he already comprehended the will of thunder. There is no point in comprehending it here. Could he be thinking of subduing this immortal will of thunder? That's impossible. In the past, several major characters of the Sky Dome realm wanted to subdue it. However, they all returned in failure, nearly dying in the process. Who knows? He is not an ordinary martial sage. When the many old men saw the white figure above Thunder Emperor Valley, they discussed it. Xiaochen watched quietly as the golden lightning occasionally flashed in the clouds. When he felt that faint might, he felt astonished. The stronger one was, the more reverence one would feel for this immortal will of thunder. In the past, Xiaochen was ignorant. He could only feel the strength of this lightning but did not know how strong it was. Now, Xiaochen had comprehended the will of thunder as well. It was also an immortal will of thunder. Now that he understood the principles behind it, he had a direct understanding of the might of this will of thunder. Even in the Kunlun realm, this will of thunder could injure a grandmaster-level martial sage. If a superior-grade martial sage was not careful, they might be blasted to death. Xiaochen, have you decided? If you really want to subdue this immortal will of thunder, don't blame me for not warning you. Be careful not to injure your own origin qi. Ao Jiao warned. Xiaochen stared for a long time. Then, he said slowly, I've decided. I'll just treat it as experiencing the might of the lightning tribulation. If I succeed, my will of thunder should improve qualitatively. The rumbling of thunder did not stop. Streaks of lightning streaked across the sky. The entire sky seemed to be bathed in lightning. The white figure above the Thunder Emperor Valley seemed desolate and frail. Occasionally, a bolt of lightning descended on Xiaochen. He waved his hand and electric light wrapped his palm. That was his immortal will of thunder. A surging energy surged out, shattering the descending lightning into countless sparks flying everywhere in the air. Xiaochen looked straight at the sky. There was a golden bolt of lightning moving slowly there. The lightning in the surroundings came from it. This was also the target of Xiaochen's trip. Xiaochen pushed off the ground and unleashed a strong battle hunger in his heart. He soared into the air. Today, he had to subdue this will of thunder. Boom! Xiaochen had just soared 100 meters when a bolt of lightning descended on his head, not giving him any time to dodge. When the lightning descended, Xiaochen took it head-on. Electric flames immediately burned on his body as electricity crackled and flickered. Xiaochen felt somewhat numb. However, his limbs were fine. His internal organs were not injured at all. This level of lightning could not hurt him. Bang! 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 Every 10 meters or so, a bolt of lightning would land on Xiaochen's body, and a loud sound would reverberate between heaven and earth. The void around Xiaochen had long since shattered. Pitch-black cracks spread out, shattering the space. Dark clouds covered the sky for hundreds of miles, blocking out all the sunlight in the sky. The scene above Thunder Valley was extremely terrifying. Those old men on the sea in the distance couldn't help but retreat another 1,000 meters. As Xiaochen tore through the lightning in the air, he advanced amidst the electric light. All of them held their breaths in concentration and didn't dare make a sound. This scene was truly too shocking. It was as if he was going against the heavens. Under the gloomy sky, lightning streaked across the dark space. The power that erupted from that seemingly small white figure was actually this shocking. Unknowingly, 3 people had quietly appeared behind them. When the group of elders discovered these 3 people, they were undoubtedly shocked. The leader of the Black Dragon Guild in the Boundless Sea, the cult master of the Heavenly Saint cult, and the commander of the Black Flag Army in the Devil Prairie. Chapter 855. Unexpectedly, these 3 major characters are here as well. The Black Dragon group moves unhindered in the Boundless Sea. Even the 4 Shallow Seas Alliance is not a match for them. Although the Sacred Heavenly Church is a faction that rose in the past few years, their church master is a famous person as well. The Black Flag Army is a mysterious faction that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, at its peak, worked with the various sects to surround and suppress. Even so, they returned in defeat in the end. Without exception, these 3 people stood at the peak of the Sky Dome realm. Their cultivations were unfathomable, far beyond what regular martial sages could compare to. However, all this was just the beginning. Following that, another 5 people arrived. Unexpectedly, the group of old men on the sea did not recognize any of them. Only the true peak factions would know that these 5 people were the guardians of the various royal clans. They spent many years in closed-door cultivation and had undergone experiential training in the Kunlun realm when they were young. When Shao Chun saw the 8 people arrive with his spiritual sense, he frowned slightly. He had really underestimated the Kunlun realm. He could not defeat any one of these 8 people easily. However, he could not be bothered with them at this moment. There was no need to worry about them coming to cause trouble. Without comprehending the will of thunder, they would just be seeking death. As Shao Chun hovered 2 kilometers in the air, the lightning he faced was no longer as easy as before. Most of the energy in his heavenly sage laws had been drained. Now that he was 1 kilometer away from the golden lightning bolt, Shao Chun no longer dared to fully open his protective quintessence. Every time a bolt of lightning descended, a fiery light flickered. It burned his physical body like a knife scraping at his heart and bones, inflicting unbearable pain. Shao Chen's peak rank 2 sage body showed signs of breaking after being struck by more than 100 lightning bolts in a row. The electric light penetrated his body and moved around. This was a form of torture and a baptism for Shao Chen's physical body. If Shao Chun could endure this baptism, his physical body would definitely benefit greatly. The guardians of the 5 nations and the 3 from the Sacred Heavenly Church formed 2 distinct groups. They gathered together and commented on Shao Chen's actions. It looks like this junior can really subdue this will of thunder. That might not be the case. His physical body is about to reach its limit. If he continues to endure such an attack, that final bolt of lightning will be enough to shatter him into pieces. Strange, why are the remnants of the Tianwu dynasty gathered together? Could it be that they want to make a move at the crucial moment? These people have been in the limelight for the past few years. Rumor has it that they're working with the Nether sect. So what? They're just a bunch of shady forces. Do they really think they can overturn the heavens? With the forces behind us, it's a piece of cake to take care of them. The 5 guardians of the various nations discussed softly. They did not think too much about Shao Chun subduing this divine lightning. They had only come to take a look out of curiosity. After all, this will of lightning had been passed down from generation to generation. There had never been a lack of people who wanted to obtain it. However, all of them returned in failure in the end. The reason for this was none other than the fact that no one dared to touch the last bolt of lightning that contained the origin of will. Lightning was the purest form of energy in the natural world. Aside from Berserk, there was only Berserk. There was no need for it to change anything. It directly used a horrifying explosive force to test one's endurance. Life and death were decided in that instant. If one could endure it, it would be over. If one could not, they would die, falling from the sky. After 1,000 torments, Shao Chun did not know how many times the lightning struck him. Finally, he was only 500 meters away from the golden bolt of lightning. The berserk lightning and boundless roars suddenly stopped. Only the howling of the wind remained. It was so quiet that it was scary. Clearly, this was not the end of the suffering. Instead, it was the final calm before the storm. Xiao Chen's heart sank. At this moment, that golden bolt of lightning was hidden in the clouds. Thunderclouds churned, but there was no sound of thunder. An extremely stifling feeling welled up in Xiao Chen's heart, making him feel very uncomfortable. Xiao Chen, this is the final bolt of lightning. It is coming for real. It contains an immortal will. If you can endure it, only death awaits you. You still have time to retreat now. Ao Jiao understood this immortal lightning much better than Xiao Chen. Along the way, Xiao Chen had not used any secret treasures or martial techniques. He had relied entirely on his physical body. How could Xiao Chen give up? As he looked at the dark thunderclouds, his blood surged. He said, "Bring it on." If Xiao Chen could not even endure this bit of lightning, then he would definitely not be able to clear the lightning tribulation of the 7th floor. What was the difference between dying earlier or later? Boom! Thunderclouds churned in the dark sky. After a while of silence, a spot of golden light suddenly pierced through the boundless darkness, giving off a dazzling light. Upon a closer look, it was a long sword formed by golden lightning. The tip of the sword pierced through the dark clouds, and the roar of thunder immediately resounded through the sky. Bolts of lightning streaked across the sky at the same time, illuminating the Thunder Emperor Valley. It's here! The most ferocious and horrifying strike of this immortal will of thunder is finally here. The experts of the 5 nations, the 3 powerhouses of the Tianwu dynasty's remnant races, and the group of old men watching the excitement on the surface of the sea all cast their gazes over. For thousands of years, it was unknown how many people had died to this lightning. It was unknown how many arrogant experts had become deserters in front of this lightning, retreating without a fight. Everyone knew that this bolt of lightning was a treasure. However, it had existed for so many years, and no one had been able to take it away. Everyone was filled with anticipation as to whether Xiao Chen would be able to break this rule or not. Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram. The moment the electric light appeared, Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and the Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram instantly appeared. The Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram soared up, trying to suppress the might of this bolt of lightning. If Xiao Chen could subdue it in an instant, that would be perfect. When the golden lightning sword touched the center of the Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram, Xiao Chen's body trembled. His sea of consciousness surged and he felt dizzy, nearly falling over. With just one touch, the lightning-attributed energy in the sword flowed through the mental connection between Xiao Chen and the Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram, invading his sea of consciousness. A cool chi came from the Neptune headscarf on Xiao Chen's forehead, waking him up. A bright light flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chen drove the purple talisman in his sea of consciousness, spinning it continuously, slowly absorbing all the lightning-attributed energy that invaded his sea of consciousness. In such a stalemate, Xiao Chen discovered that although he was in a passive position, the purple lightning talisman was clearly growing stronger after absorbing the lightning-attributed energy. Kasi. Cracks spread out on the Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram, looking like it would shatter at any moment. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and decisively withdrew his hand. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he activated the Sage-grade pagoda in his body. The image of a pagoda materialized and encased Xiao Chen. Pu Ci. In just an instant, the golden lightning sword chopped the image of this Sage-grade secret treasure in half. The pagoda in Xiao Chen's body also shattered at the same time, turning into beams of scarlet light that shot out of Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood. However, his somewhat miserable face remained as calm as still water. As he watched the descending lightning sword, he did not admit defeat. Instead of advancing, Xiao Chen retreated. Electric light burst out from under his feet as he executed the myriad heaven divine fist. With tenfold combat prowess, the light from his right hand was no weaker than the lightning sword. As everyone exclaimed, Xiao Chen directly punched the golden lightning sword. Instantly, tens of thousands of lightning bolts descended in the surroundings, shattering space. The entire sky shook intensely. The sea churned endlessly, and the surging waves turned into pillars of water soaring into the sky. Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood as he retreated 100 meters. His clothes were in tatters and his skin was riddled with wounds. However, Xiao Chen's face was filled with fanaticism. The golden lightning sword's light had dimmed significantly in the face of Xiao Chen's punch. "I don't believe that I cannot subdue you." Xiao Chen shouted and charged forward again. In the blink of an eye, he threw more than 100 punches at the descending golden lightning sword, which pressed down so hard that even the sky seemed to be sinking. Lightning crackled around his body. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels, his bones, and his blood vessels were all being baptized by lightning. From the inside to the outside, he felt an indescribable pain. The nearly 2-meter-long golden lightning sword was reduced to the size of a palm by Xiao Chen. Not a single part of Xiao Chen's skin remained intact, and his internal injuries were frighteningly severe. However, it was all worth it. Xiao Chen tore off Neptune's headscarf, and the mental energy in his sea of consciousness surged out. A suction force sucked in the palm-sized golden lightning sword, turning it into a beam of light that entered Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. The 3 powerhouses of the heavenly dynasty's remnant races exchanged glances and said, "Attack!" The 3 worked together and each executed a killing move, charging at Xiao Chen, who had just subdued the lightning sword. At this moment, Xiao Chen's body was like a city waiting to be rebuilt. He had just experienced a bitter battle. As long as he recovered, he would be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. His strength would definitely soar. However, this recovery required time. No matter how strong Xiao Chen's physical body was, after suffering such severe injuries, there was not a single part of his body that was unscathed. His internal organs were even more severely damaged. Now was the best time to make a move on Xiao Chen. Furthermore, these 3 people all had impressive backgrounds. They were all peak characters in this Sky Dome realm. As the 3 moved as fast as lightning, they chained their killing moves together. Their auras were overwhelming, nearly covering half the sky. The guards of the 5 nations had not expected these 3 to be so decisive. Aside from the Great Qi Nation's guard, who immediately flew forward to block them, the other 4 old men muttered to themselves. The other 4 elders pondered for a moment, but they weren't in a rush to make a move. Bang! Although the Great Qi Nation's guard used his full power against these 3 powerhouses of the Tianwu dynasty's remnant races, he was no match for them in the end. The 3 barely managed to block for a while before they were blasted back by the momentum of the charge. Cracks appeared in space wherever they passed. Just the force of the impact was already so mighty. This showed how strong the 3's combined strength was. After knocking back the Great Qi Nation's guard, the 3's auras flourished. They shouted and charged over with an even more ferocious momentum. From their stance, it was clear that they wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Xiao Chen in one move. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. Before the other party's killing moves arrived, a strong wind formed by the surging shockwaves sliced over like a sharp knife. Chapter 856. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and stretched out his hand. A bright light burst forth from his forehead, and the purple talisman merged with the strand of immortal will of thunder. The color of the talisman deepened, and 4 strands of golden electricity could be seen moving around it. This was the sign of a will of thunder comprehended to 40% comprehension. The talisman released a resplendent light, containing an immortal legend. It seemed like there was only one purple lightning talisman in the world. An intense explosion resounded. The purple talisman, which looked like a meteor shield, easily broke the killing moves of the 3. Horrifying energy exploded out. The talisman split into 4, turning into 4 small golden swords dancing in the air. Kasi. Horrifying wounds appeared on the bodies of the 3 Tianwu dynasty remnant races. Traces of electricity charring the wounds, giving off strands of black smoke. Miserable shrieks rang out, and horror appeared in the eyes of the 3. They had not expected Xiao Chen to subdue the immortal will of thunder that the Thunder King left behind so quickly. "Let's go!" Xiao Chen left as quickly as he had come. Seeing that their attack had failed, the 3 decisively retreated. The protectors of the 4 nations, who had been indifferent, quickly chased after them, preparing to beat them up while they were down. The 4 beams of golden light returned to Xiao Chen's forehead. His body trembled a few times in the air before he landed on Thunder Emperor Valley. Then, he consumed a few medicinal pills and calmed himself to treat his injuries. The dark clouds that had covered Thunder Emperor Valley for thousands of years vanished with the disappearance of the immortal will of thunder. Sunlight shone down, and the pieces of shattered space slowly merged back together. The injuries on Xiao Chen's body healed at a visible rate. Xiao Chen could clearly feel his new skin gaining a layer of luster and texture. Under the baptism of lightning, his physical body improved once more, approaching a rank 3 sage body. After checking his injuries, Xiao Chen shook his head slightly. He would not be able to recover quickly. That was all for now. He still had some things to do. "Senior, please wait." Xiao Chen opened his eyes and stopped the Qin Kingdom's guardian, who was about to leave. His figure flashed and he arrived in front of the old man. Looking at the badge on the old man's clothes, Xiao Chen roughly understood the old man's identity. That emblem was clearly the same as the emblem of the Kunlun realm's sovereign noble clan, the Ying clan. The old man's complexion was pale, but he did not appear weak. He said in a deep voice, "Little friend, you should thank this old man for intervening earlier. It is my duty, so there is no need to take it to heart. Moreover, even if I did not intervene, I believe that little friend would have been able to successfully escape." Xiao Chen said politely, "Senior, you are being too humble. The situation earlier might seem simple, but it was very dangerous. Outsiders would find it hard to understand. That moment of time you helped me was truly crucial." At that time, it was a crucial moment for him to fuse with the golden lightning sword, and he couldn't get away at all. If the elder did not make a move, Xiao Chen would have no choice but to use the will avatar of the Haotian Great Emperor. The old man's expression did not change. However, the expression in his eyes turned much gentler. He was very satisfied with Xiao Chen's humility. I guess that you stopped me because you have something else to discuss, right?" Xiao Chen was stunned. This old man really had incredible foresight. So, he said directly, "I want to enter the Sky Dome Immortal Realm. Given Senior's position in the royal court, it should not be difficult, right?" In the past half a month, the news of Xiao Chen returning to the Sky Dome Immortal Realm had already spread everywhere. However, there was still no news of Lu Riyue. Clearly, Lu Riyue was in the Sky Dome Immortal Realm. That was why she could not receive news of the outside world. Xiao Chen did not know when she would come out. Since that was the case, he would just go in and look for her personally. The old man frowned slightly and said, "Right now, a forbidden land in the Sky Dome Immortal Realm is open. The elites of the various royal courts are in there. If you go in, it would be inappropriate. As for Lu Riyue's safety, within you taking care of her, there is no need for you to worry. Furthermore, her personal strength is extraordinary." Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. The other party only said that it was inappropriate. That meant that he could still go in. The entrance to the Sky Dome Immortal Realm was not closed. "In that case, I will not make things difficult for Senior. I will definitely repay Senior for this favor in the future." When the old man heard Xiao Chen say that, he heaved a sigh of relief. If he really sent Xiao Chen in, given Xiao Chen's strength, he would definitely cause a huge commotion in there. The royal courts of the 5 nations in there all had their own factions. The intense competition was not as simple as the old man made it out to be. If Xiao Chen went in and saw Lu Riyue suffer any grievances, it would be terrible. As Xiao Chen watched the old man leave, he made up his mind. He had to go to the Sky Dome Immortal Realm. It looked like the fortuitous encounters in there were pretty good. No matter what, Xiao Chen had to fight for them for Lu Riyue. If he could not even do this, then he would not be a man. In the eyes of the various royal courts, the Tianwu dynasty's remnant races might have spoken casually, but they all treated them as a huge threat. Now that Xiao Chen injured the 3 remnant race powerhouses, how could they let go of such a good opportunity? The 4 guards of the various nations chased for a while. Just as they were about to catch up to the 3, a mysterious masked swordsman suddenly blocked them. That swordsman's left eye gave off a bright light, but his right eye was filled with boundless darkness. His sword technique displayed a strange sword dao that merged light and darkness. After a few exchanges, that swordsman easily blocked the 3. After 100 moves, he smiled gently and withdrew mysteriously. When Xiaochen looked again, the 3 remnant race powerhouses were long gone. On a small island in the boundless sea, the 3 remnant race powerhouses looked awkwardly at Chu Chaoyun, who had saved them. Chu Chaoyun removed his mask, but his expression appeared relaxed. He said calmly, "Consider this a lesson for you. Don't casually make a move behind my back." The Black Dragon Group's chief appeared conflicted. In the end, he could not help saying, "Young master, this Xiaochen is the Qing Emperor's inheritor. In the future, he will definitely be a strong opponent for you. How can you let such a good opportunity go so easily?" "Indeed. We were just a little short, and we would have been able to kill him. In the future, the Tianwu dynasty's resurgence would have one less obstacle." The other 2 also voiced their agreement. "Just a little short?" Chu Chaoyun's lips curled up in a smile. "Why do I feel that you were just a little short from being destroyed? Tomorrow I will be leaving the Sky Dome realm. You should study the cultivation method that I obtained from the demonic world. Right now, your strength is far from sufficient." The Black Dragon Group's chief asked with some concern, "Young master, are you doing well in the demonic world?" Chu Chaoyun replied indifferently, "It is the same everywhere. Strength reigns supreme. Survival of the fittest. There is not much difference between humans and demons." It was a simple statement about survival of the fittest, but who knew how many cruel facts were hidden in it? Xiaochen was not in a rush to return to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The strand of will of thunder that the Thunder King left behind still had some loose ends that needed to be dealt with. Along the way, Xiaochen found a desolate place. Then, he floated down and opened his right hand. Spots of purple light started to gather on his palm, finally forming a talisman flickering with electric light. 4 strands of golden light quickly flickered in the complicated patterns on the talisman's surface. Each strand of light contained strong energy. With a thought, the purple lightning talisman immediately split into 4, turning into 4 small swords. They flew about in the air, tearing pitch-black cracks in space. Just by casually flying around, the swords already had such great might. This showed how powerful the manifestation of Xiaochen's will was. However, this was where the problem lay. These 4 small golden swords were the manifestation of the Thunder King's will. No matter what, he was a bladesman. Sabers and swords were different. How could Xiaochen bring out the full might of these small golden swords? He could only change them. Looking at the 4 small swords in the air, Xiaochen entered deep thought. He stretched out his hand, and the 4 small swords merged back into the purple talisman. After closing his eyes and thinking for a while, Xiaochen came up with a countermeasure. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, and the strand of saber soul in his sea of consciousness came out in a flash. Boing, boing, boing. The sound of countless sabers humming rang out in the air. The sabers buzzed as a strong wind blew, quickly spreading the horrifying saber intent. All the bladesmen within 500 kilometers felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. They wanted to draw their weapons. Then Xiaochen waved his hand and suppressed the surging saber intent in the saber soul. A small, invisible saber appeared in the air, looking hazy and indistinct. Its exact existence could not be seen. However, that vast might was clearly felt by everyone. The hundreds of grass on the ground bent over, not daring to stand up straight. Xiaochen's gaze moved back and forth between the strand of saber soul and the purple lightning talisman. Then, he opened his hand and slowly merged the 2. Aside from this method, Xiaochen could not think of any other way to change the golden lightning sword into a saber from the inside out. The fusion of the 2 did not go smoothly. Be it the strand of saber soul or the purple lightning talisman, they were both too sharp. Neither was willing to submit to the other. The 2 clashed, clashing intensely. The strand of saber soul was not satisfied with merging with the purple lightning talisman. It was not satisfied with the purple lightning talisman at all. Instead, its appetite became even greater, wanting to consume the purple lightning talisman. Seeing the 2 separate, Xiaochen frowned. It looked like his earlier thoughts were too simple. "Xiaochen, you cannot do this. You need to choose the main body of the 2. Whether you use your will or your saber soul will represent the different paths you will take in the future. If you use your saber soul as the main body, your physical body, and your mental energy martial techniques will all be restricted. The benefit is that your saber techniques will be more refined. If you use your will as the main body, you can develop it in all aspects. Be it your physical body, your mental energy martial techniques, or your saber techniques, you can develop them all. However, your saber techniques will be very difficult to improve. When Ao Jiao saw that Xiao Chen was in a difficult spot and could not make up his mind, she gave him a detailed explanation. Xiao Chen thought for a while before asking, "Back then, what did the Thunder King choose?" "I remember that he was a swordsman, right?" When it came to the Thunder King, naturally, no one understood him better than Ao Jiao. She quickly answered, "The Thunder King's situation was different from yours. His physical body was not as strong as yours, and his mental energy was not as strong as yours. His situation was not as complicated as yours, either. The form of his will was a sword. The path he took was the path of a swordsman. It was very pure and simple. However, when he reached the peak, no one could defeat him." Chapter 857. It looked like the Thunder Emperor's path was no longer useful as a reference. It could not help him at all. My personal suggestion is that you focus on the saber soul and help the saber soul swallow up the will. Use the will to strengthen the saber soul. In the future, the improvement of the will strengthen the saber soul. As your saber techniques improve, you can also improve the will. Think about it. You cultivate the physical body, mental energy, and saber techniques. No matter which one it is not simple. When you reach the peak, you will be unrivaled everywhere. As the saying goes, biting off more than one can chew. You might as well focus on saber techniques. With your talent, your strength will soar in a short time. Ao Jiao continued to speak, voicing her opinion. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. He had not expected this. He simply wanted to refine the will of thunder that the Thunder King left behind into something he was good at. However, it involved such a complicated discussion. Ao Jiao's words were easy to understand. Focusing on saber techniques meant spending all the time on the physical body, mental energy, and fist techniques on saber techniques. With so much time, it would be hard for his strength not to rise. However, this way, his final accomplishments would be equal to the Thunder King and the Qing Emperor. It would be very difficult to surpass them. This was not what Xiao Chen wanted. With this idea in mind, Xiao Chen slowly merged the two again. However, this time he purposely helped the will, swallowing up the saber soul. The two were originally evenly matched. After one obtained Xiao Chen's help, it immediately gained the upper hand. The saber soul struggled for a while before being absorbed into the purple lightning talisman. After merging with the shape of the saber soul, the purple lightning talisman gained an indestructible sharpness that seemed to reign supreme. With a thought, the purple lightning talisman split into 4 beams of golden light. Each beam of golden light was an immortal small saber. Xiao Chen revealed a satisfied smile. The golden light returned to his forehead and merged into the purple talisman in his sea of consciousness. Then he put on Neptune's headscarf. Some of the disturbing thoughts in his heart were stripped away. Xiao Chen's state of mind was like still water. Looking through his heart, he did not regret the decision he just made. He was Xiao Chen, not the Thunder King or the Qing Emperor. Due to his internal injuries, Xiao Chen slowed down significantly. However, by the time he returned to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he had already recovered from most of his severe internal injuries. He was back to his peak state. As Xiao Chen expected, Lu Ruyue did not return. Instead, he met another familiar person. "Brother Xiao Chen, you're getting more and more awesome now. Did you bring any treasures for this fat lord this time?" Kim Taeho had been waiting at Qingyun Peak for a long time. When he saw Xiao Chen, he immediately smiled and ran over with squinted eyes. His figure was the same as usual, still round like a ball. When Xiao Chen saw Kim Taeho, he was rather happy. When he heard what Kim Taeho said, he smiled faintly and said calmly, "My things are not good enough for you, right? I heard that the Golden Rock Merchant Association has monopolized most of the business in the Sky Dome realm. Kim Tae-ho waved his folding fan and chuckled. It's just a small business, not worth mentioning. The two chatted in the courtyard for a long time, sharing their experiences. When Fatso heard Xiaochen talk about the various things in the Kunlun realm, his eyes lit up. However, after that he became sad, feeling very conflicted. Xiaochen, given this fat lord's intelligence, do you think I can make a name for myself in the Kunlun realm? Kim Tae-ho asked in a soft voice after holding back for a long time. Xiaochen was speechless. He nearly spat out a mouthful of wine. It is best if you don't go. Just stay in the Sky Dome realm and harm others. In the Sky Dome realm, Xiaochen had suffered enough at the hands of this fellow. If the underwear maniac went to the Kunlun realm, he might bring him some trouble. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen said very sincerely, I feel that it is better for you to stay in the Sky Dome realm. Those geniuses and old monsters in the Kunlun realm are not on the same level as you. There is no point. When Fatso heard this, he could not help but sigh. He picked up his wine cup and drained it in one go. He said, great minds think alike. There are not many people in this world who can keep up with my thoughts. Today you, Xiaochen, are one of them. Never mind, I won't go then. I have been lonely in the Sky Dome realm for too long. Even after going to the Kunlun realm, I will still be this lonely. This is really boring. It looks like this fat lord is destined to be lonely for the rest of my life. Fatso revealed a somewhat sad expression. If he changed his face, he might be able to attract many young girls who liked this kind of aura. After finally dispelling Fatso's thoughts of going to the Kunlun realm, Xiaochen thought about something else. He asked, Brother Debao, is there a way to enter the Sky Dome immortal realm? Fatso felt it was strange. He asked, why would I go in there? The great Tang nation's royal court invited me several times, but I never went. It is too dangerous in there. It is filled with all sorts of mutated immortal spirits and wild beasts. The competition between the various royal courts is also very intense. If I am not careful, I will suffer a lot. Xiaochen felt excited. It looked like this Kim Tae-ho did have a way to enter the Sky Dome immortal realm. In that case, he would not have to think of any other way to enter the Sky Dome immortal realm. The environment inside was not as simple as the great Qin nation's protector said. This made Xiaochen even more determined to enter. Tell me, what is going on with this Sky Dome immortal realm? Fatso chuckled and said, about that, I have yet to see Brother Xiaochen's greeting gift. In his rush, Xiaochen forgot about this Fatso's temper. He tossed out an astral coin and said, this is a priceless treasure of the Kunlun realm. One is worth half a rank 8 sect. Kim Tae-ho picked it up and looked at it suspiciously for a long time. However, he could not make out anything. However, when he saw Xiaochen's calm appearance, he pretended to be an expert. He said, this is good stuff. I can tell with one glance that it is extraordinary. It is truly a treasure worth half a sect. Seeing Fatso treat an astral coin worth 1,000 superior grade spirit stones like a treasure, Xiaochen's expression remained calm. There was nothing strange about it. Kim Tae-ho blew on that astral coin before rubbing it. Then he smiled happily and said, Brother Xiaochen is really interesting. The more I look at this thing, the more this fat lord likes it. However, what exactly is it used for? Xiaochen found it strange and asked, you don't know? Kim Tae-ho laughed loudly and said, how can that be? How can this fat lord not know such a famous thing? Is that right? Xiaochen held back his laughter and said calmly, it is just a small thing. It is not worth much. Tell me more about the Sky Dome immortal realm. When Fatso saw Xiaochen's casual attitude, he was even more convinced that it was a treasure. He immediately explained the Sky Dome immortal realm in detail. After Xiaochen finished listening, he thought about it carefully. This Sky Dome immortal realm was more complicated than he had imagined. Naturally, the Sky Dome immortal realm was not a true immortal realm. It was just a name given by the people of the Sky Dome realm. The spiritual energy there was abundant, and there were many natural treasures. Cultivating there would be 3 or 4 times faster than cultivating outside. However, it was still not comparable to the Kunlun realm. The Sky Dome immortal realm was an independent small world, about 1/10 of the size of the Tianwu continent. It could be considered very vast. The royal courts of the various nations all had their own encampments there. However, most of the places were public, so they could go on adventures together. Rumor had it that that was the true residence of the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. Everything in the outside world, including the Tianwu continent and the boundless sea, had slowly evolved from the Sky Dome Immortal realm over a long period of time. There were many immortal beasts that the Sky Dome Immortal Lord casually reared. After they mutated and multiplied, they became ferocious beasts without any spiritual energy. However, the spirit cores in their bodies still contained some immortal qi. After removing the impurities and absorbing them, their cultivation would increase significantly. The ferocious beasts were very strong. Some of them were even as strong as superior-grade martial sages of the Kunlun realm. In the Sky Dome Immortal realm, they were existences that could not be offended. Aside from the immortal beasts that the Sky Dome Immortal Lord once reared, there were also some 10,000-year-old spirit plants. Some of these spirit plants gained intelligence and could even cultivate. The most famous spirit plant in there was called the longevity tree. Rumor had it that the Sky Dome Immortal Lord cultivated under this tree in the past. The longevity tree could bear longevity fruits. The longevity fruits could not truly make people live forever. However, they could easily increase a cultivator's lifespan. One longevity fruit could increase a cultivator's lifespan by 100 years. However, it was only effective the first time one consumed it. The thing that truly attracted cultivators was not the longevity fruit but the 7-colored auspicious signs that would descend from the sky when the longevity fruit ripened. Auspicious signs were graded by color. The more colors there were, the higher the grade. 7-colored auspicious signs were second only to 8-colored and 9-colored auspicious signs. Above 9-colored auspicious signs were the legendary heavenly signs. Heavenly signs would only appear when a sovereign martial emperor or an emperor-grade medicinal pill bore fruit like the undying tree. Even the Kunlun realm's martial sages could not wait for such good things. A 7-colored auspicious sign was already of a very high level. It contained the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The spiritual energy contained in it was even purer than a rank 3 spirit vein's origin. Just one strand of it could allow one's cultivation to soar. Furthermore, there were no side effects. There would not be the situation of spoiling things through excessive enthusiasm. The longevity fruit ripened once every 5,000 years. This time, it happened to be the time for it to ripen. Not only were the younger generation of the various royal courts eager to try, but even some of the old antiques with unfathomable cultivations who were nearing the end of their lifespans made a move. Naturally, the younger generations sought the 7-colored auspicious signs, while the older generations sought the longevity fruit. Everyone took what they needed. However, resources were limited. Be it the 7-colored auspicious signs or the longevity fruit, there would not be many of them. The competition between them was easy to imagine. Strange, these longevity fruits and 7-colored auspicious signs should be very attractive to you, right? Why do you not seem interested at all? Xiao Chen asked suspiciously as he looked at Kim Taeho, who was still thinking about the astral coin. Kim Taeho carefully blew on the astral coin a few times. Then he smiled and said, "With this fat lord's intelligence, how can these people understand me? There is no chance at all. Why would I want to get involved?" "What do you mean?" Kim Taeho chuckled and said, "Of the 5 nations, the Great Jin nation's royal court is the strongest. The other 4 nations combined are not as strong as them. The Great Jin nation sends out experts, princes, princesses, and young geniuses that join the royal court. We can only walk to the longevity tree. There is a huge storm in the sky, and there are countless ferocious beasts along the way. The people of the 4 nations will have to fight their way over bitterly. Furthermore, they will have to deal with the strong Great Jin nation's royal court. What chance do they have?" Chapter 858. Hence, when the Great Tang nation's royal court came to ask this fat lord to be cannon fodder, this fat lord immediately rejected them. Xiao Chen's expression froze. Then he said, "Brother Debeo, I'm afraid you won't be able to refuse this cannon fodder. Kim Tae-ho was stunned for a moment before reacting. He smiled and said, "Don't look for your fat brother for this. You are strong. Naturally, you dare to go anywhere. This fat lord's body really cannot take the torture. I still have things to do, so I'll take my leave first." Patting his butt, Kim Tae-ho stood up and prepared to leave. The Sky Dome Immortal Realm was not as poetic as its name suggested. There were all sorts of ferocious beasts and spatial storms in there. If one was not careful, one might lose their life there. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, and another astral coin appeared in his hand. Then he tossed it at Fatso. "Hu-chi!" Turning around, Kim Tae-ho reacted quickly and caught the astral coin. Based on his reaction, he seemed to have expected Xiao Chen to make such a move. "Ha! In this world, only you, brother Xiao Chen, can keep up with this fat lord's thoughts." Fatso smiled so widely that a flower bloomed on his face. He was overjoyed in his heart. With 2 astral coins, this fat lord would be able to buy a sect in the Kunlun realm. "Let's go." Xiao Chen had already figured out Fatso's game of loosening the reins only to grasp better. Naturally, he knew that the other party did not really want to reject him. Xiao Chen brought out his full power and tore space while carrying Fatso. They moved as fast as lightning. In merely half a day, they arrived at the great Tang nation's imperial capital. When Fatso saw Xiao Chen's horrifying strength, he felt extremely excited in his heart. This transaction was definitely profitable. Not to mention the 2 astral coins, which were worth a rank 8 sex astral coin, he would definitely gain some benefits if he followed Xiao Chen to the Sky Dome Immortal Realm. Even if Kim Tae-ho did not give him any treasures, bringing Xiao Chen to the Sky Dome Immortal Realm would not be a loss for him. Thinking about the 2 priceless star coins in his pocket, Fatso could not help but feel extremely pleased. Xiao Chen was strong, but his intelligence was still a little lacking compared to the Fat Lord. Outside the Imperial Palace, Xiao Chen put on the Sky Sea cloak and said, "You can go in and negotiate. Don't worry, they won't be able to find me. I'll just follow you in." After saying that, he vanished. Fatso looked around and could not help saying, "He really disappeared. This Kunlun realm really has many treasures. Stop dawdling. I'm right beside you. Hurry up and go." Xiao Chen's voice sounded in his mind. Kim Tae-ho was shocked and looked at it for a long time. He was completely convinced by this treasure. However, Xiao Chen thought to himself, with Xiao Chen's intelligence, he could do well in the Kunlun realm. This fat lord would definitely be able to do well there. Just as Xiao Chen thought this, he proved his identity. Immediately, a major character of the royal court came to receive him. The Jin clan was a top-tier clan in the Great Tang Nation. Now it was like the sun in the sky. When the major characters heard that Fatso had changed his mind and wanted to go to the Sky Dome Immortal Realm, the major characters of the royal court hesitated. The various royal court's teams had already set off. If Fatso went now, he would not be able to help the Great Tang Nation's royal court disciples. However, due to Kim Tae-ho's reputation, the major characters reluctantly agreed despite their reluctance. Xiao Chen hid himself and followed Xiao Chen to the depths of the imperial palace. There, they arrived before a tightly guarded transportation formation. This transportation formation gave off an ancient, vast, and desolate aura. There were rings of medial-grade spirit stones around the transportation formation. From the looks of it, there were at least several tens of millions of them. Fatso casually stood on the transportation formation. Xiao Chen stood beside him, but no one noticed him. Boom! The medial-grade spirit stones burned, and the ancient formation activated. A white light flashed and space twisted. Then, Xiao Chen and Kim Tae-ho disappeared from the formation at the same time. A light flashed, and Xiao Chen and Kim Tae-ho appeared in the Sky Dome Immortal Realm. What would the Sky Dome Immortal Realm be like? Xiao Chen and Kim Tae-ho were rather curious. At the very least, they had some fantasies. However, when they arrived, they revealed disappointed expressions. Kim Tae-ho smiled and said, "I just knew that this rundown place is not much. I did not expect it to be so rundown." Xiao Chen sized up his surroundings. The sky was primal chaos. There was no sunlight, only howling spatial storms rushing back and forth. The pieces of spatial shards were sharper than any knife. Just looking at them made him feel somewhat flustered. Countless spatial shards formed tornadoes. As they stirred, it looked like there were many man-eating ferocious beasts hiding in the sky, opening their ferocious mouths. When Xiaochen looked down, the air was turbid and humid. Not to mention the Kunlun realm, it was even worse than the Tianwu continent. The flowers and grass on the ground were all uneven. At first glance, one would think that they were malnourished. Xiaochen opened his mouth and said somewhat flabbergasted, "Speaking of which, Brother Debeo, did we come to the wrong place?" But suddenly, a palm-sized mosquito leaped out. Fatso reacted quickly. He swatted the folding fan in his hand, sending this mosquito flying far away. However, it did not die. It should be right. The great Tang nation's royal court would not lie to me about this. This mosquito is really extraordinarily big, Kim Taeho said with lingering fear as he watched the mosquito fly over again. Xiaochen smiled casually and said, "The one on your butt is even bigger." A miserable shriek rang out. Fatso jumped up from the ground in pain. When he turned his head to look, he saw a black mosquito the size of his face resting silently on his butt. Its sharp and long beak pierced through his clothes like a needle, sucking happily. Fatso immediately swatted it with the folding fan in his hand. Put. After swatting twice, the mosquito did not die. Furthermore, the mosquito that he swatted earlier also flapped its wings and flew over. 2 strands of saber chi flashed, and electric light exploded. These 2 mosquitoes were immediately blasted into pieces. Xiaochen, who was standing at the side, had made a move. Damn. Kim Taeho held his but as he jumped up and down on the ground, shouting as though his parents had died. Buzz. 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 The air suddenly trembled, and a strong wind blew at the 2. Xiaochen looked up and saw a large swarm of mosquitoes flying out from the grass in front. The howling wind was the result of the swarm of mosquitoes flapping their wings. "Let's go." Xiaochen picked up the pale Kim Taeho and soared into the air. Then, he turned around and used his palm as a saber, executing the starting stance of the lightning tribulation saber technique. Wind and lightning gathering. The purple lightning talisman in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness spun once. The shape of the saber soul and the 4 strands of golden light were instantly drawn over. When Xiaochen chopped out with his palm, a strand of saber chi containing 90% comprehended saber intent and 40% comprehended will of thunder immediately shot out from his palm. Thunder and wind roared, and the 4 strands of purple saber chi with golden light flowing on them tore through the air, shattering this swarm of blood-sucking mosquitoes into pieces. When Xiaochen looked carefully, he could not help but be flabbergasted. There were a few mosquitoes in there. They were actually intact, not dying from the combined attacks of the spatial shards and the saber chi. However, they knew how powerful Xiaochen was. They flapped their wings and slowly flew back through the spatial shards. Xiaochen withdrew his gaze, and a strand of red light shot out from his forehead. He summoned out the massacre throne. A scarlet cloud carried the throne as it floated quietly in front. When Fatso saw the throne, he immediately rejoiced. He laughed loudly and said, "How domineering! This throne is tailor-made for this fat lord." After saying that, Fatso let go of Xiaochen's hand and soared into the air, landing on the throne and landing on his butt. Another blood-curdling scream rang out. The fatty clutched his buttocks and shot out from the throne. When Kim Taeho landed on the scarlet cloud, his complexion paled. He said, "Xiaochen, why do I feel that there is a hole in my butt? Blood is gushing out like a fountain." Xiaochen looked at the hole in Kim Taeho's butt, and sympathy flashed in his eyes. He said, "It's fine. You are overthinking. It is just a hole." Riding on the scarlet cloud, Xiaochen flew higher and higher on the throne. In the blink of an eye, he was high up in the sky, about to face that horrifying spatial storm. Up on the scarlet cloud, Kim Taeho, who kept turning his head around, trying to see the wound on his butt. When he saw Xiaochen's actions, he could not help being startled. Startled, he exclaimed, "Xiaochen, are you crazy? This is a spatial storm, a storm formed by fragments of space. Even Grandmaster-level martial sages can be easily torn to shreds. I know. However, this only applies to Grandmaster-level martial sages in the Sky Dome realm. Xiao Chen replied calmly. Then he pressed 2 fingers to his forehead, and a beam of purple light shot out. Then it split into 4, turning into 4 small golden sabers that guarded one area. The moment the sabers entered the sky, 8 tornadoes made up of spatial fragments charged at Xiao Chen from all directions. These tornadoes looked like ferocious beasts baring their fangs, wanting to swallow up Xiao Chen. Suddenly, the 4 small golden sabers danced around. Beams of golden light of 4 different colors formed a screen of sabers flickering with electricity, tightly encasing the scarlet throne. The screen of golden sabers silently sliced the 8 spatial storms into countless tiny pieces. Then, they vanished completely, and the throne entered the void. There were still cracks in the void, and the strong winds that came out were still extremely horrifying storms filled with hidden energy. As Xiao Chen sat on the throne, he did not panic. With a wave of his hand, the 4 small golden sabers destroyed all the hidden energy. This stunned Fatso, who was on the scarlet cloud, and he cried out repeatedly. As Xiao Chen moved quickly in the sky, he soon caught up with the groups. Occasionally, Xiao Chen used his spiritual sense to check below. Finally, he saw the group of the Great Qi Nation's royal court. There were several familiar faces in this large group. When Xiao Chen saw the state of these people and paid special attention to Yu's strength, he relaxed. With Yu here, this group of Great Qi Nation's royal court was safe. Without any worries, Xiao Chen moved even faster. That horrifying spatial storm was like child's play to him. With a flick of his finger, it shattered. The towering longevity tree entered Xiao Chen's eyes. He sat on the scarlet throne and slowly descended from the sky. They slowly descended from the sky. In the end, they managed to arrive in front of the longevity tree ahead of everyone else. Chapter 859. A loud roar resounded. Before the scarlet throne landed, a berserk ferocious beast appeared below. This ferocious beast gave off a berserk aura. When it opened its mouth, it kicked up a strong wind that seemed like it could flip up the surface of the sea. Pu Ci. The 4 small golden sabers merged into one and turned into a purple talisman. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and the talisman flickered and instantly broke the strong wind. When the throne landed, Xiao Chen withdrew the talisman. A 20-meter-tall, 100-meter-long ferocious beast was chopped in half and laid on the ground. Kim Taeho exclaimed exaggeratedly, "This is a ferocious beast equal to a martial sage." Unexpectedly, Yu instantly killed it in one move. As Xiao Chen spoke, Kim Taeho did not stop moving. He held his butt and jumped down from the scarlet cloud. Then he quickly searched through the corpses. Soon, he found a spirit core covered in black spots. Fatso laughed loudly and paced excitedly on the ground. He said, "A martial sage-level spirit core containing immortal qi. I struck it rich this time. Even if this fat lord has another hole in my butt, it will be worth it." Right after Fatso spoke, he saw the longevity tree bearing heavy red fruits thrust a branch at Kim Taeho like a golden fork at lightning speed. Its speed was even faster than Xiao Chen's. Kim Taeho had just obtained the spirit core and was somewhat carried away. He accidentally walked into the attack range of the longevity tree. It looked like he would not be able to dodge in time and would be pierced by the branch. Electric light flashed under Xiao Chen's feet. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he quickly dodged. Then, he picked up Kim Taeho and retreated. Back and forth, as Xiao Chen moved quickly, pitch-black cracks appeared in space. After escaping death, Fatso heaved a long sigh. Then, he put away the spirit core covered in black spots and said to Xiao Chen, "Fortunately, brother, you are fast. Otherwise, I would not have been able to escape unscathed." As Xiao Chen spoke, he did not realize that a hole had appeared on his right butt as well. Blood poured out like a fountain. There was a kind of pain that, when reached the extreme, would make one numb. Xiao Chen made a sad expression. He didn't know if Kim Taeho was in the same situation. The grades of the spirit trees were also divided into sage, king, emperor, and immortal. This division was similar to the grades of secret treasures. It was mainly for the convenience of trading between cultivators and the identification of treasures. The moon cassia tree was a saint-tier spirit tree, and the longevity tree was a grade higher than it. It was a king-tier spirit tree, and because of its special effect of increasing one's lifespan, it was ranked in the top 3 among the king-tier spirit trees. Regardless of cultivation level or race, a single longevity fruit could increase a person's lifespan by 100 years for the first time. Within 100 years, Xiaochen might be able to make another breakthrough, advancing further on the path of cultivation. Its value was easy to imagine. Even in the Kunlun realm, it would be a top treasure. Xiaochen counted carefully. There were only about 20 of the heavy red fruits on the longevity tree. They bore fruit once every 1,000 years. Such a number was truly rare. Scarlet spiritual energy wafted out of the longevity fruit, making one drool. Kim Taeho stared straight at it. However, he no longer dared to approach it. Clearly, this longevity tree had gained sentience long ago. Now that the longevity fruit had not ripened yet, it naturally did not allow anyone to approach. As Xiaochen looked at the longevity fruit that was about to ripen, he entered deep thought. Before the longevity fruit matured, the longevity tree would not allow anyone to approach it. Kim Taeho's earlier fate was a good example of the consequences of getting close. As long as the longevity tree matured, the longevity fruit would fall automatically. As for how many fell, that would depend on luck. Sometimes 1 or 2 fell, and the longevity tree would burrow into the ground, running off to some unknown place. Naturally, such a result was not what Xiaochen wanted. Since he was already here, he had to collect all 20 longevity fruits. Xiaochen pushed off the ground, and his figure flashed as he flew towards the longevity tree. The peaceful, towering tree instantly came to life. Many long branches extended out endlessly, piercing through space and shooting at Xiaochen. Electric light flickered under Xiaochen's feet. In that instant, he executed Thunder Dragon steps to its limits. His figure moved so fast that one could not even see his shadow. He tried to approach the longevity tree from all directions. Kasi. After a while, Xiaochen broke off a branch and retreated safely. He now had a rough understanding of this longevity tree's strength. This longevity tree had indeed gained sentience. However, it had only gained sentience recently, and its cultivation was not deep enough. While its attacks looked fast, they were not methodical. After familiarizing himself with the longevity tree, he could easily dodge. Xiaochen looked around. There were still some mutated ferocious beasts eyeing this place covetously. However, they did not dare to get close to Xiaochen. The lunar shadow saber appeared in his hand. These ferocious beasts did not dare to be impudent towards Xiaochen. However, that did not mean that Xiaochen would let them off. After about 7 minutes, Xiaochen chased away all the ferocious beasts in the surroundings. Those that could not flee in time were killed by him. By the time Xiaochen returned, the longevity fruits had not ripened yet. Xiaochen could not help but frown. It looked like he had come too early. If he had waited any longer, the great Jin nation's cultivators would have arrived. Earlier, when Xiaochen passed by the sky, the great Jin nation's royal court was indeed strong. Among them, there were 3 old men who had lived for countless years. Their cultivations were terrifyingly deep. Although Xiaochen did not fear peak grandmaster-level martial sages, once the longevity fruits ripened, he would not be able to avoid being implicated by them. If things went wrong, Xiaochen's plan to collect all the longevity fruits would be ruined. That would be a huge loss. Xiaochen frowned and thought for a long time. Then he remembered that there were still 2 rank 3 spirit veins origins in the immortal spirit ring that had not been exhausted yet. What are you thinking of doing? Don't even think about those 2 rank 3 spirit veins origins. If you use them, there will be no more left. Ao Jiao was like a housekeeper, keeping the rank 3 spirit veins origins in the immortal spirit ring tightly. Xiaochen smiled bitterly. He knew that Ao Jiao liked to take care of the plants in the immortal spirit ring. Keeping the spirit veins origins was for his own good. However, he had no choice but to use them now. After a long time, Xiaochen finally got Ao Jiao to agree to take out a rank 3 spirit veins origin. Xiaochen waved his hand, and the rank 3 spirit veins origin silently flew to the top of the longevity tree. After a while, it turned into spiritual rain and fell. The longevity tree happily absorbed the spiritual rain. The bright red skin of the longevity fruits on the tree thinned bit by bit as they grew rapidly. Fatso smiled with some heartache. Brother Xiaochen, you are really generous. A rank 3 spirit veins origin is even more valuable than a longevity fruit. Xiaochen smiled and did not reply. In the Sky Dome realm, a rank 3 spirit veins origin was indeed more valuable than a longevity fruit. However, in the Kunlun realm, the situation was different. If he could pick all 20 longevity fruits before the spirit tree burrowed underground, Xiaochen would earn a lot on this trip. A fervent look appeared in Xiaochen's calm eyes. His heart was filled with boundless anticipation. When the longevity fruits ripened, he would collect all of the 7-colored auspicious signs, giving Lu Ryue a pleasant surprise. On the way to the longevity tree, Yingyu led the great Qin nation's people, killing the ferocious beasts blocking the way. The ferocious beasts here were not easy to deal with. They all had the bloodline of immortal beasts in their veins. Even as a half-sage, she did not dare to move around without fear. Fortunately, there was a peak superior grade martial sage senior in the group. Although he rarely made a move, he helped Yingyu share a lot of the pressure. Aside from that senior, who was nearing the end of his lifespan, Xiaochen was familiar with the others in the group. There was no need to mention Yingyu, Feng Feishue, and Lu Ryue. As for the remaining two, Xiaochen had not seen them for many years. One was his half-brother, Xiao Jian, and the other was his cousin, Xiao Yulan, who once knelt down to plead for him. Feng Feishue had introduced these two to the Heavenly Qin School in the imperial capital. After that, they gained the appreciation of the princess and joined the Imperial Dragon Legion. Now, they were Yingyu's trusted subordinates. Yingyu held the Grand Imperial Spear and brandished it. She fought a half-sage ferocious beast alone and killed it rather easily. After that, she looked up at the sky doubtfully. When Yingyu withdrew her gaze, she discovered that Lu Ryue was frowning as well, shifting her gaze away from the sky. The others also felt doubtful. Earlier, they all felt a familiar gaze sweep through them from the sky. Only that senior, who was nearing the end of his lifespan, did not feel anything. When he saw the strange expressions of the group, he said, "Don't overthink it. No one in the Sky Dome realm dares to move about in the spatial storm in the sky unless they are tired of living." Seeing the senior with the highest cultivation say this, the others did not dare to voice their opinions. Only Lu Ryue still felt confused. That gaze earlier was too familiar. It was just a flash, but it felt very real. Yingyu collected her thoughts and said, "Let's go. The people of the Great Jin Nation are already far ahead of us." The group killed the ferocious beasts along the way and continued forward. After putting in a lot of effort, they finally saw the top of the longevity tree when they looked up. The group could not help but feel gratified. Aside from the Great Jin Nation's royal court, they were the fastest. As long as they put in a bit more effort, they would be able to obtain some of the 7-colored auspicious signs. They would not have to return empty-handed. As long as they obtained a strand of 7-colored auspicious signs, their cultivation would soar significantly. If they were lucky and obtained a few more strands, their cultivation might even increase by a grade. Indeed, it is as I expected. The one following closely behind is indeed you, Princess Yingyu. Before the smiles on the group's faces faded, 3 Great Jin Nation princes appeared at the intersection in front, leading a group of people. There was also a superior grade martial sage in their group. However, the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages were not with them. They must have arrived earlier. When Yingyu and the others saw this group of people suddenly appear, their expressions changed slightly. The Jing Nation's royal court wanted to delay them and monopolize the longevity fruits and 7-colored auspicious signs. The person who spoke was the Great Jin Nation's first prince, Yi Qin. At such a young age, he had already advanced to peak superior grade martial monarch. His talent was only slightly weaker than Yingyu's. Yingyu's pretty face turned slightly cold. She said coldly, "Yi Qin, it is best not to be too ruthless. You schemed so much and used such despicable methods. In the end, you will not have a good ending. Chapter 860. I Ching laughed heartily. His eyes were filled with a domineering light as he said, "You are too naive. I will stop you now. So what? Let's see who will obtain the longevity fruit and the 7-colored auspicious sign in the end. You might be strong, but with the 3 of us working together, we really aren't afraid of you. If you have the ability, then come and force your way through." The senior from the great Qin nation, who was nearing the end of his lifespan, frowned slightly. The old man in the other side's team was clearly targeting him, not letting him off. There were also people watching Xiao Jian, Lu Riyue, and the others. Even though the great Jin nation's royal court had lost their 3 strongest people, they could still suppress them. Ying Yu's expression turned unsettled. She had not expected the people of the great Jin nation to be so shameless, not giving outsiders a chance at all. Just as the longevity fruit was about to ripen, they stopped them. Suddenly, colorful lights flickered in the sky. The longevity fruit had finally ripened. Auspicious signs filled the sky as they descended. When I Ching saw this scene, he could not help but reveal a pleased expression. The 3 royal clan elders should already be near the longevity tree. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen's lips could not help but curl up. He looked at the unsightly expressions of Ying Yu and the others. He laughed loudly and said, "Good, the longevity fruit has ripened. Princess Ying Yu, I will stand here. Let's see how you are going to make me suffer." Right after I Ching spoke, an ear-piercing alarm rang out. I Ching's expression changed. He turned his head to look at the sky and said strangely, with the strength of the 3 seniors, why would they send out such a distress call? I Ching could not be bothered with Ying Yu and the others. The situation had probably taken a turn for the worse. He quickly led the group to where the longevity tree was. Xiao Jian stepped forward and asked doubtfully, "Princess, what's wrong with this group of people?" Ying Yu thought for a while and quickly made a decision. She said, "It looks like they are in trouble. Come, let's follow them." The royal family of Jin Nation, who was initially domineering and unreasonable, suddenly changed their attitude and left in a hurry. Naturally, Ying Yu and the others would not let go of this opportunity. They quickly followed behind. Lu Riyue did not know why, but her heart pounded heavily. She suddenly thought of a possibility. She thought of the gaze she saw on the road earlier. She had never doubted the authenticity of that gaze, even when the superior-grade martial sage of the great Qin nation's royal court said that no one could walk in the Sky Dome realm. She didn't doubt that there was definitely a gaze like that standing above the 9 heavens, shuttling through the endless spatial storms, looking deeply at her. As Lu Riyue thought this, her speed increased significantly. She circulated the quintessence in her body without caring about the expenditure. Soon, she was standing shoulder to shoulder with Ying Yu. She desperately wanted to know the answer. Was the owner of that gaze, the person who had stopped to look at her in the 9 heavens, the person she had been thinking about day and night? After a while, the great Jin nation's royal court and Ying Yu's group arrived at where the longevity tree was. When they saw the situation clearly, they were all dumbfounded. The 7-colored auspicious signs falling from the sky were collected by a fatso holding a jade bottle. The smile on his face was even brighter than the radiance of spring. The 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages of the great Jin nation's royal court were easily blocked by a mysterious man wearing a cloak. That black-cloaked man used his arms as a saber. Electric light burst out, and saber chi flew everywhere. Hundreds of lightning flood dragons circled around him. As the black-cloaked man brandished his saber, the lightning flood dragons howled wildly. With a gentle palm strike, he knocked back the Grandmaster-level martial sages who wanted to charge up, not holding back at all. The 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages either attacked one after another or worked together. However, without exception, the black-cloaked man blocked all of them. When Fatso, who was above, saw this scene, he laughed loudly in delight. Then, he started collecting the 7-colored auspicious signs at an even faster speed. It looked like the auspicious signs were about to run dry. The 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages below could not help but feel even more anxious. The group of people from the great Jin nation's royal court was completely stunned. These were bona fide Grandmaster-level martial sages. Their lifespans were about to end. After a long time, They had tempered their cultivations to a very deep level. All of them were people who stood at the peak of the Sky Dome realm. However, when the three of them worked together, one person easily blocked them. Where exactly did this black-cloaked man come from? It's over. The auspicious signs are all gone. A youth beside the great Gene Nation's first prince said with great heartache. The main purpose of this trip had been ruined. These people were young and did not have to worry about their lifespans. Naturally, the longevity fruit would not be of much use to them. The expressions of Ing Yu and the others changed slightly. The auspicious signs were all gone. This person was far stronger than the people from the great Gene Nation's royal court. They had no chance at all. Fatso chuckled and tossed the jade bottle containing the auspicious signs to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and caught it. His lips could not help but curl up. When he looked at the three old men charging up again, a cold look flashed in his eyes. Earlier, Xiao Chen was worried that he would not be able to collect all the auspicious signs if he was distracted. Hence, he could only do his best to block these three. Now that he had obtained the auspicious signs, he no longer needed to be polite with these three old men. If he did not deal with them now, they would be a problem when the longevity fruits fell. Twin dragons playing with pearl. Xiao Chen used his palm as a saber and chopped with it, executing the third move of the dragon subduing slash. A pearl-like light struck one of the old men's chest. Before this person could react, two dragon-shaped saber chi flew over and struck his chest. There was no way for him to dodge. There was a loud bang, and a bright light flashed. This twin dragons playing with pearls severely injured this person. He would not be able to recover within half a year. Xiao Chen's figure flashed. He did not show any mercy. He turned around and headed for the other old man. His figure moved as fast as lightning, giving off loud bang. 7 profound fingers. That old man was startled. As he retreated in a fluster, he gathered all the heavenly sage laws in his body and formed a vast storm behind him. Then he stretched out his hand and pointed. 7 streaks of light of different colors pierced through the air, tearing cracks in the sky. Each of the streaks of light was powerful enough to shatter mountains and rivers. Under the hood, Xiao Chen's expression was as calm as still water. His figure moved forward, not slowing down at all. Just as he was about to touch the 7 beams of light, he suddenly attacked, circulating all the vital qi in his body. Xiao Chen suddenly attacked, circulating all the vital qi in his body and attacking with his full power. A horrifying force that was infinitely close to 1,500 tons of force exploded in the air. In that instant, the world shook, and a huge black hole appeared in space. The 7 beams of light suddenly broke apart. Xiao Chen passed through the black hole. The shock wave of his fist light did not diminish at all as it struck the old man. That old man vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. He slid on the ground for 100 meters in a sorry state, coughing endlessly. His eyes revealed an expression of disbelief. Xiao Chen held 2 fingers together, and a beam of light shot out from his forehead. The purple lightning talisman flickered. When the remaining old man saw an electric light, a bowl-sized bloody hole appeared in his chest. A strong wind blew endlessly. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen knocked out the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages one by one. The hearts of the people below all sank. Such strength was unimaginable. He did not seem like a Sky Dome realm cultivator at all. However, Xiao Chen ignored the shock of these people. His figure flashed, and he landed on the ground. Then, he quietly watched the longevity fruits that were about to fall to the ground. Based on the usual pattern, not all 20 longevity fruits would fall to the ground. The longevity tree would move away on its own. Xiao Chen paused for a moment before charging at the longevity tree. Kasi. Tree branches pierced through space, charging at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, who had anticipated this long ago, did not panic. He dodged the countless tree branches that could easily pierce through a mountain. Then, he gently plucked a longevity fruit and held it in his hand. The longevity tree was thoroughly enraged. Its branches intertwined and looked like flood dragons as they bit at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen did not clash head-on. His figure flashed as he flew upwards. Then, he clenched his right hand, and another longevity fruit flew into his universe ring. Xiao Chen's agile figure brushed past the longevity tree's attack as everyone tensed up. When the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages on the ground saw this scene, they could not help but vomit blood in frustration. The longevity fruits that they had been waiting for 10 years were picked by Xiao Chen like he was picking peaches. The 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages cursed in their hearts, hoping that the longevity tree would pierce thousands of holes in Xiao Chen and kill him without a complete corpse. However, things did not go as they wished. Xiao Chen kept brushing shoulders with danger. The group could only watch as the longevity fruits dwindled, unable to do anything about it. Pu-ci. With only 3 longevity fruits remaining, the longevity tree could no longer endure Xiao Chen's plundering. It sank down, and its huge trunk sank into the ground with a flash of light. How could Xiao Chen let the longevity tree do as it pleased? In the time it took for a spark to fly, he punched a deep pit in the ground and quickly dove in. After a while, Xiao Chen flew back with a piece of the longevity tree's spiritual wood branch in satisfaction. At the last moment, Xiao Chen reacted quickly and put away the remaining 3 longevity fruits. Seeing Xiao Chen appear, the great Jin Nation's people glared at Xiao Chen with bloodshot eyes. However, they did not dare to say anything. This fellow who suddenly appeared messed up their plans. Originally, they had planned to monopolize the 7-colored auspicious signs and the longevity fruits that fell to the ground. However, they did not manage to obtain anything. Furthermore, the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages were beaten half to death. When Lu Ryue and the others saw this scene, they did not show anything on their faces. However, they felt very carefree in their hearts. In the first place, they had always been bullied by the great Jin Nation's royal court in this Sky Dome immortal realm. In the earlier scene, the first Prince Yi Qin's attitude was even more overbearing, causing everyone to feel a great deal of anger in their hearts. Are you still not going to scram? Xiao Chen shouted coldly as he looked coldly at the first prince and the others, who showed extreme dissatisfaction in their eyes. Xiao Chen did not have a good impression of this group of people. He had just used the spirit vein's origin to accelerate the ripening of the longevity fruits. In the end, 3 old men came to cause trouble. Xiao Chen had no choice but to seek Kim Taeho's help. Given Fatso's character, he would definitely not help for free. Seeing the hostile Xiao Chen under the hood, the great Jin Nation's people quickly left. They feared that if they stayed any longer, Xiao Chen would really get angry. Yingyu's group sighed silently. This person did not even care about the great Jin Nation's royal court. Why would he be polite to them? To avoid humiliating themselves, they turned and left. Chapter 861. Everyone, long time no see. Do you really not recognize Xiao Chen anymore? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and took off his hood. Then he calmly called out to Lu Ryue, Feng Feishue, Yingyu, Xiao Yulan and Xiao Jian. The few of them turned around one by one and saw a delicate and pretty face with a headscarf. Those familiar facial features and the sharpness between his brows were just like in the past. Without a doubt, he opened his mouth wide, unable to speak for a long time. Indeed, it is him. Tears welled up in the corners of Lu Ryue's eyes. All sorts of emotions welled up in her heart. The person she loved had really returned. There was some disbelief in Xiao Yulan's eyes. Everything she saw was real. Cousin Xiao Chen, who had knelt 3 times to express his gratitude, had actually reached such a height today. Xiao Jian was even more in disbelief than him. A bitter smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Who could have imagined that the person who had left his clan 7 years ago would grow to such a level? Xiao Chen did not say anything more. He slowly walked over and wiped away the tears at the corners of Lu Ryue's eyes. Lu Ryue blushed. Her flirtatious face was filled with bashfulness. The others smiled faintly and tacitly left this place. A bitter smile appeared on Xiao Yulan's face. Although she had known long ago that cousin Xiao Chen had made his choice, Xiao Yulan knew that cousin Xiao Chen had made his choice. But now that he saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but feel the pain in his heart. Yingyu walked over and patted Xiao Yulan's shoulder. She smiled and said, "Lass, don't be sad. This fellow is just so-so, there is no need to feel sad for him." Feng Feishue walked over leisurely. Dressed in men's clothes, she still looked as carefree and at ease as before. She even knew Xiao Yulan's heart and knew how hard Xiao Yulan had worked over the years. He hugged her tightly in his arms and patted her back. When he closed his eyes, there seemed to be a column of water at the corner of his eyes. Xiao Jian curled his lips and sat on the ground, bored, as he played with the sword in his hand. Now, he was no longer that petty person from back then. There was no irreconcilable grudge between him and Xiao Chen in the first place. However, when he saw Xiao Chen's current achievements, he still felt a little emotional. Fortunately, after so many years, Xiao Chen had come to terms with it. He only hoped to advance to Martial Sage in the Sky Dome realm and protect his clan. Xiao Chen glanced over and saw Xiao Chen talking to Lu Riyue in the distance. He looked at Xiao Chen's changed expression. He could not help but think of his father in Mo City. Xiao Xiong had never mentioned it, but everyone knew that he had been forced to chase Xiao Chen away back then. No one could understand the pain he was suffering. Xiao Jian would never forget the complicated expression on Xiao Xiong's face when he heard the news that Xiao Chen ranked first on the True Dragon ranking. He wondered if his father's solemn face would reveal a trace of a smile if he knew of his second brother's current achievements. Xiao Chen and Lu Riyue did not chat for long before they arrived at where Ying Yu and the others were. When Xiao Chen saw the familiar faces, a smile appeared on his calm face. His old friends were all there, his old friends were all well, and his elegance was still the same. Nothing had changed. This was especially so for Xiao Chen's cousin, Xiao Yulan, whom he had not seen for many years. Back then, when he first came to this world in Mo City, the memories were still fresh in Xiao Chen's mind. As for Xiao Jian, as time passed, the two of them had grown. When Xiao Chen looked at Xiao Jian now, he realized that he was much more mature than before. Ying Yu glanced at the stupefied Xiao Chen. Then she clenched her fist and threatened, "Don't even mention that 7-colored auspicious signs. You are only giving them to Lu Riyue alone. This princess is someone who holds grudges. If you leave in the future, don't blame me for playing some tricks." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and took out the jade bottle containing the 7-colored auspicious signs. Multicolored lights filled the air. When counted carefully, there were at least 200 7-colored auspicious signs. No matter how the 5 of them divided them, they would not be able to finish them. This auspicious sign is useless to me. You can take whatever you want based on your cultivation. Don't exceed what you can bear. The auspicious signs contained a large amount of pure spiritual energy. However, everyone's cultivation was limited and could not absorb too much. Otherwise, they might explode and die. The others did not hesitate either. They had arrived here after much difficulty, all for the sake of these 7-colored auspicious signs. Ying Yu's cultivation was the highest. She took 57-colored auspicious signs. Xiao Jian and the others were between inferior-grade martial monarchs and medial-grade martial monarchs. The gap between them and Ying Yu was too great. They only took 10 or so auspicious signs. Xiao Chen carefully put away the remaining 100-odd auspicious signs. Then he looked at Kim Taeho, who was staring at him anxiously. Then, he tossed over 2 more of the spirit cores that he obtained from the martial sage ferocious beasts. The sage-grade spirit cores contained a lot of immortal qi. With Xiao Chen's current cultivation, after he removed the impurities and absorbed them, his cultivation would improve significantly. "Little friend, can this old man exchange for a longevity fruit with you?" When the old man from the great Qin nation's royal court saw Xiao Chen collect the 20 longevity fruits, he felt envious. When he saw the strength that Xiao Chen displayed earlier, he had already despaired. Now that he discovered that Ying Yu and the others had a close relationship with Xiao Chen, he immediately felt tempted. He did not have many years left to live. 1 longevity fruit could increase his lifespan by 100 years. The temptation of this went without saying. Xiao Chen glanced at Ying Yu and saw that she was looking at him as well. Clearly, this old man had a high status in the great Qin nation's royal court. Xiao Chen handed over a longevity fruit straightforwardly. There is no need to stand on ceremony. The great Qin nation's royal court has taken great care of my Xiao clan. This longevity fruit is a token of appreciation from the younger generation. There is no need to exchange it. After the old man obtained the longevity fruit, he beamed with joy. When he heard Xiao Chen's polite words, he felt even more grateful. Xiao Chen swept his gaze over the group and thought for a while. Then he said, "Big brother, cousin Yuan, I have some things I would like to speak to you in private." The three went to the side and chatted for a while. Then, Xiao Chen briefly described his experiences. Xiao Yulan and Xiao Jian were both deeply moved. "Cousin Xiao Chen, will you return to our Xiao clan this time?" Xiao Yulan asked with some anticipation in her eyes. Xiao Chen did not know what to say. Along the way, he had been conflicted over whether to return or not. What exactly was Father Xiao Xiong afraid of? With the Great Qin nation's royal court taking care of him, could there really be someone in the Sky Dome realm who would dare to make a move on the Xiao clan? When Xiao Chen addressed Xiao Chen as big brother, all the barriers in Xiao Jian's heart disappeared. He said, "I more or less know about father's worries back then. Back then, the ancestors of the Xiao clan were too tyrannical in their actions, thinking that they were the only one in the world. If anyone was dissatisfied, they would directly eliminate them. They offended too many factions. If not for some good karma, the Xiao clan, which had lost its foundation, would not have survived to this day. When the Xiao clan first entered the Sky Dome realm, they could be considered a tyrant with many experts. However, all of them were mysteriously killed in the end. It was a ghastly sight. It was only in recent years, when the Blue Dragon martial spirit disappeared, that the Xiao clan truly stabilized. Your appearance reminded father of the tragedy of our seniors. With the current Xiao clan, it is simply impossible for us to face those enemies. We had no choice but to chase you out." Xiao Chen did not object to this. Back then, when he revealed his Blue Dragon martial spirit at Bushin Palace, the Grandmaster-level martial sages of the three sovereign noble clans immediately tried to kill him. One could imagine how deep the impression that the Qing Emperor had left on these people back then was. However, if that was all, Xiao Chen would not care about it. With the three sovereign noble clans and the Haotian Emperor protecting him, that would be enough. What Xiao Chen was worried about was not these enemies in the open but those hidden in the dark, not showing any signs of doing so. In the end, Xiao Chen was still too weak. If he had the strength of the Qing Emperor back then, why would he fear small fries? What sovereign noble clans? Actually, it does not matter whether I return or not. I do not blame father, nor do I want to make things difficult for him. If the Xiao clan really faces a calamity of destruction, my heart will not be able to bear it for the rest of my life." Even when he wanted to return home, he had so many worries. Xiao Chen could not help but feel bitter in his heart. After arriving in the Kunlun realm, he had fought many battles along the way. Practically no one in the Sky Dome realm could stop him. However, when he thought about the Kunlun realm's sovereign noble clans, any Grandmaster-level martial sage could easily kill him. What did all this count for? He had to break through to the 7th layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. Otherwise, not to mention a Grandmaster-level martial sage, any superior-grade martial sage of the Kunlun realm would be able to kill him. Then, Xiao Chen took out some of the sage-grade secret treasures that he won at the auction and handed them to the two. Even if a sage-grade secret treasure could not bring out much of its might, it could still significantly increase the strength of a cultivator. With these sage-grade secret treasures, the overall strength of the Xiao clan should be able to rise significantly. After a while, Xiao Chen took out several high-ranked secret manuals. These were all obtained from the spatial rings of the enemies he killed in the Kunlun realm. Xiao Chen did not think much of them. However, to the current Xiao clan, they were undoubtedly supreme treasures. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen took out several spatial rings filled with superior-grade spirit stones and handed them over. Spirit stones, secret manuals, and secret treasures. With these, the Xiao clan should be able to develop rapidly within 10 years. They would definitely be able to lay a firm foundation. Xiao Chen had a vague plan in his heart. After he advanced to Martial Emperor, he would rebuild the Dragon's Gate and let the Xiao clan return to the Kunlun realm openly, back to where they belonged. This plan was very far away, so Xiao Chen could only do it step by step. He could not reveal too much either. Right now, all he could do was let the Xiao clan disciples lay a firm foundation. When Xiao Jian and Xiao Yulan saw the things that Xiao Chen took out, they were deeply shocked. Even in the Kunlun realm, some of the weaker sects would treat these as treasures. Now that Xiao Chen handed these things to the two of them, the overall strength of the Xiao clan would experience a qualitative increase in a short period. Seeing the joy on the two's faces, Xiao Chen revealed a heartfelt smile. He raised his head and looked at Feng Feishue, Ying Yu, and his beloved Lu Riyue. Even if Xiao Chen did not need to break through to the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 7th layer, this trip back was worth it. Even if he lost to the outstanding talents of the Kunlun realm, it was still worth it. Some things could not always be measured in terms of value. Kinship, friendship, love, no matter how deep they were buried in one's heart, if one did not think about them or think about them, one would not be able to erase the imprint they left in one's heart. The group gathered together. Xiao Chen got Lu Riyue to return with Ying Yu and the others first, to wait for him at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. There were still some places in the Sky Dome Immortal Realm that Xiao Chen wanted to visit. After the others left, Xiao Chen slowly walked over to the pit in the ground. This was where the longevity tree had burrowed into the ground. When Xiao Chen punched it, he discovered something interesting while chasing the longevity tree. Chapter 862. Xiao Chen took a step forward and landed in the pit. Then he stood firmly at the bottom of the pit. There was a large blue wooden chest below. Simple and unadorned patterns were carved on the surface of the wooden chest, flickering with a faint light. Dense talisman scripts flowed on the light barrier, forming a ring of light and spreading out immortal qi. As Xiao Chen looked at the wooden chest, he revealed a contemplative expression. This was once the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's residence. It was not strange for there to be a wooden chest filled with immortal qi here. The strange thing was, why was the wooden chest under the longevity tree? Why did the Sky Dome Immortal Lord place it there? As Xiao Chen hesitated on whether to open the wooden chest or not, he fell into a dilemma. He had always maintained a cautious attitude toward the unknown. Open? Or not open? Open. Xiao Chen revealed a determined expression. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord was a peak major character of the immortal epic. Even the sovereign martial emperors of this era could not compare to him. The Sky Dome Immortal Lord had not left such a wooden chest under the longevity tree casually. This was a great opportunity. Xiao Chen could not let it go to waste. Xiao Chen stretched out his right hand, and a purple talisman appeared in his palm. This was the manifestation of Xiao Chen's will. With a thought, the purple talisman turned into a soft, water-like electric light encasing his entire right hand. 4 strands of golden light swam quickly within the soft, water-like electric light. They were incredibly sharp and gave off a boundless saber intent. Xiao Chen focused, and the 4 strands of golden light merged. Buzz! A boundless saber hum resounded in the pit, boundlessly vast and ferocious. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and a strand of golden saber qi shot out from his fingertip. It was long and slender, like a gushing river. The waves behind and ahead did not stop, rising and falling. This involved some of the techniques Xiao Chen grasped after his will absorbed the vague form of his saber soul. Kasi, this strand of saber qi broke the light barrier of talisman scripts on the wooden chest. Just as it was about to touch the wooden chest, the electric light in Xiao Chen's hand vanished, and the saber qi vanished. Xiao Chen made a grasping motion in the air, and the wooden chest flew over to him, hovering in midair. Then he gently raised his hand, and an invisible force opened the wooden chest. When the wooden chest opened, a fiery, turbid qi immediately gushed out. Xiao Chen was already prepared for this, so he pointed with his finger. 300 thumb-thick heavenly sage laws flowed out of Xiao Chen's body through his fingertips and intertwined to form a barrier in front of him, blocking the fiery, turbid qi. Xiao Chen took a closer look and found that the wooden box contained an egg that was as smooth as white jade. Through the eggshell, he could see the scene of a void burning in flames. Within the boundless flames, there was a hazy little life. Its eyes were closed as it breathed in and out. It was fast asleep. From time to time, the hot and turbid air that spewed out was caused by this little fellow's exhalation. Look at the pitch-black space burning in the air. Xiao Qun was startled in his heart. What kind of existence is this little fellow in the egg? Just its subconscious breathing has such destructive power. He now understood why this wooden box was placed under the longevity tree. The longevity tree was a peak king grade spirit tree. Its rate of absorbing spiritual energy was the fastest in the Sky Dome immortal realm. Placing the egg under its roots was the best way for this little fellow to absorb more spiritual energy. However, what exactly was in the egg? The longevity tree had existed for at least 10,000 years. Despite being nourished for so long, it still had not broken out of its shell. There was also a jade strip beside the spirit egg. Xiao Qun grabbed it and sent his spiritual sense into it. He discovered that it was an immortal art called Starry Heaven Storm. This immortal art was much stronger than some of the low-ranked magic techniques recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation. It used magic energy to simulate the scene of a starry heaven storm. The moment this magic technique was executed, it would be like a starry heaven storm descending. It could instantly swallow up countless stars and turn them into dust. Of course, this was just the description. The true might of this magic technique still depended on the strength of the user. Xiao Qun only casually looked around. He did not have magic energy and could not cultivate it. To him, no matter how powerful an immortal art was, it would not be of much use. Xiao Qun closed the wooden box and tossed it into the universe ring. Then he searched the cave. Aside from sensing that the longevity tree was very deep underground, he found nothing. With a flash, Xiao Qun returned to the surface. Then he looked around, preparing to check out the other forbidden lands of the Sky Dome immortal realm. In the end, he was somewhat disappointed. The natural treasures in those forbidden lands were not as valuable as the longevity tree. This made sense. If there really were any heaven-defying treasures, given how long the Sky Dome immortal realm had existed, the senior experts would have snatched them clean long ago. How could he have gotten his hands on them? Xiao Qun did not dare to barge into the forbidden lands that others could not go to. For example, where he was now, there was a ferocious beast equal to a Grandmaster-level martial sage of the Kunlun realm. Behind that ferocious beast was a lake filled with immortal qi. There was also a pavilion in the center of the lake. Be it this immortal lake or that mysterious pavilion, they were both very attractive to Xiao Qun. However, when Xiao Qun looked at the dozing ferocious beast, he could not help but feel apprehensive. However, when he looked at the sleeping ferocious beast, the bubbles that it had spat out unconsciously exploded, shattering space. Layers of spatial shards turned into hurricanes and drifted into the sky. The spatial storms that filled the sky of the Sky Dome immortal realm were actually unconsciously generated by this ferocious beast while it slept. Just thinking about it made Xiao Qun feel startled. How could he dare to have any more ideas? Xiao Qun glanced at the pavilion in the center of the lake with some dissatisfaction. Then his figure flashed and he left this place, continuing to kill martial sage-level ferocious beasts. The spiritual energy of the Sky Dome immortal realm was very thin. With Xiao Qun's current cultivation, cultivating here for a year would not be comparable to cultivating in the Kunlun realm for a month. The spirit cores of these ferocious beasts could help Xiao Qun increase his cultivation speed. Although it would not be comparable to cultivating in the Kunlun realm, it was better than nothing. After wandering around for about 10 days, Xiao Qun arrived at the Great Qin Nation's encampment. Yingyu had made arrangements long ago. After Xiao Qun reported his identity, he used the transportation formation to leave. The moon was cold and silent. Xiao Qun stood on electric light and moved quickly in the sky. He tore through the night sky like a meteor. Soon, he arrived at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qingyun Peak. Xiao Qun looked down and saw that Lu Rue was in the courtyard. She was still awake, practicing her saber in an empty space under the moonlight. She looked valiant and charming. Xiao Qun smiled faintly and drew the lunar shadow saber. He suppressed his cultivation and landed on the ground to practice with Lu Rue. The sudden appearance of Xiao Qun startled Lu Rue slightly. However, she recovered her wits, and a smile appeared on her face as she calmly exchanged moves with him. Right now, Lu Rue was a peak inferior grade martial monarch. She was only a step shy of advancing to medial grade martial monarch. Naturally, Such a cultivation speed was far inferior to that of the cultivators of the Kunlun realm. However, it was already very fast in the Sky Dome realm. After the two finished a set of saber techniques, they withdrew their moves at the same time. Xiao Qin sheathed his saber and stepped forward to embrace Lu Riyue. Under the moonlight, Lu Riyue's charming face had a different kind of charm. Lu Riyue hooked her arm around Xiao Chen's neck and looked at his delicate face. The smile on her face faded away as she asked seriously, "Why did you come back? Can you tell me the truth?" There were some things that Xiao Qin could tell Leng Tianhe but not Lu Riyue. Xiao Qin did not tell Lu Riyue that he was here to undergo his tribulation. If he fell in the Kunlun realm, he would never be able to see her again. "I missed you, so I came back." Lu Riyue smiled gently and said, "That's good. Let's not go back in the future, okay?" Xiao Qin was slightly stunned. He did not know how to answer. He was not good at lying in the first place, nor did he want to go against his heart to make a promise. Lu Riyue's words stumped him. Seeing Xiao Qin like this, Lu Riyue gently struggled free from Xiao Qin's grasp. She sighed and said, "You know you will not lie. Why the need to make me happy?" Seeing Lu Riyue enter the room alone, Xiao Qin stood where he was, not knowing what to do. He slowly walked to the door and knocked twice. However, he did not hear Lu Riyue call him in. It looks like Riyue is really angry. Xiao Qin could not help but feel sad. He looked up at the bright moon in the sky, thinking about how to explain things to her. He had not intentionally hidden his true purpose for coming back. He just did not want Lu Riyue to worry about him. However, if he did not tell her the truth, he would not be able to resolve the knot in her heart. Xiao Qin could not help but fall into a dilemma. In the middle of the night, the moon hid behind the clouds. Xiao Qin, who had been standing there for a long time, stood outside the door. He felt bored and started counting the stars in the sky. "You idiot! The door is not locked. If you still do not come in, I will really get angry." Suddenly, Lu Riyue's grumbling voice came from inside the room. Xiao Chen's face lit up in joy as he quickly pushed the door open and entered. In the immortal spirit ring, Ao Jiao could not help but complain. "A beauty on the bed, the door is not locked." Only a blockhead like Xiao Chen would stand outside and count the stars. The sky had not brightened yet. Only the afterglow of dawn scattered a faint light. Xiao Chen had not slept so comfortably in a long time. He opened his eyes and turned his head to look. Lu Riyue had not woken up yet, her eyes closed as she rested her head on his arm. Xiao Chen carefully pulled his arm out and supported his head with one hand. He looked quietly at the sleeping Lu Riyue and revealed a faint smile. His lips gently pressed against her forehead. Then, Xiao Chen put on his clothes and covered Lu Riyue with the blanket again. Then, he quietly left the room. In the back mountains of Qingyun Peak, where there was a waterfall, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged beside the stream. He closed his eyes and slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. As Xiao Chen looked at the gushing waterfall, his expression turned grave. Every time he circulated the purple thunder divine incantation, he could clearly feel the bottleneck approaching. The horrifying lightning tribulation and the formless but even more horrifying heart tribulation would arrive at a suitable time. However, Xiao Chen was much calmer now. Compared to the first time he learned about the lightning tribulation and the heart tribulation in the Haoyan Stars Heaven series training room, he was much better. Now, when he saw his old friends in the Sky Dome realm and his fellow Shao clan members in Mo City, his mental state was already close to perfection. He did not care about the future, only the present. On the road to the peak, the lonely did not fear, the lonely did not fear, the courageous did not fear. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and released the spirit egg that was as smooth as white jade that he had sealed. When he saw the surging flames and the boundless sea of fire, he felt extremely confused. "Ao Jiao, do you know what kind of egg this is?" Chapter 863. Xiao Chen was rather interested in the mysterious little fellow in the egg. Unfortunately, his spiritual sense could not penetrate too deeply into it. The space within the egg seemed to be a world of its own, boundlessly vast. Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring and sized up this mysterious egg. However, she could not make heads or tails of it. She shook her head and said, "I don't know. I have seen many powerful and noble spirit beasts. However, I really do not know a spirit beast of this color with a blazing light and an extremely berserk aura. I know several strong fire-attributed spirit beasts. However, none of them match. If I am not wrong, it should be a holy beast from the immortal epic." Holy beast? There really is such a mythical creature? Xiao Chen looked at Ao Jiao suspiciously. Ao Jiao nodded seriously and said, "There definitely is. When the martial epoch was just born, there were people who frequently saw holy beasts near Kunlun Mountain. There were even people who captured holy beasts. According to rumor, the ancestors of the 4 holy lands of the human race sealed these holy beasts and established their bloodline totems. Only then could the holy beast martial spirit be passed down to the later generations. Although the rumor might be false and outsiders do not know what is going on, it definitely has something to do with holy beasts. Otherwise, why would only your 4 holy lands have holy beast martial spirits out of all the cultivators of the human race? It looked like the immortal epic's holy beast might really be in this egg. However, it did not look like it showed any signs of breaking out of its shell. Suddenly, Ao Jiao said, "I remember now. This is a golden crow egg. It is as white as jade and as smooth as a wall. There is a boundless sea of fire surging with intense flames. The one inside is the legendary golden crow." Xiao Chen's expression changed. He could not help but feel excited. The golden crow was a famous holy beast of the immortal epic. The golden crow was a pure yang holy bird, also known as the scarlet crow or the sunbird. Its body contained the supreme overlord's solar true flame. When it matured, its light would be like the blazing sun, able to illuminate the entire world. It was the golden crow that competed with the sun. However, Ao Jiao's next words dampened Xiao Chen's hopes. She said, "It is very difficult to hatch this golden crow egg. Even after the Sky Dome immortal lord died, he could not hatch it. You can imagine how difficult it is. That's not all. Young golden crows don't have much fighting power. Even if they hatch, they won't be able to help you much. It's not much, but it's of great benefit to the sect, and it can be passed down to future generations." Xiao Chen's excitement was immediately suppressed by Ao Jiao. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Tell me, what conditions are needed for it to hatch?" Ao Jiao scrutinized the golden crow egg. After a while, she said, "Looking at the golden crow egg, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has almost been absorbed. Now, all it lacks is the origin source of the solar true fire. Where can I find the solar true fire's origin flame?" Ao Jiao pointed to the blazing sun above and said, "The deepest part of the blazing sun of the Kunlun realm is the solar true fire's origin flame. The solar true fire of the Sky Dome realm is just a portion that the Sky Dome immortal lord plundered from the blazing sun." Speechless, Xiao Chen carefully put away the golden crow egg. For now, he no longer had any thoughts about this. He did not think that he had lived too long and wanted to run into the blazing sun. Before he got close, he would probably be roasted until not even a drop of blood remained. At the very least, he would have to cultivate the golden body of Emperor Wu before he could obtain some of the solar true fire. As for the origin flame in the deepest part of the universe ring, Xiao Chen thought that only a sovereign martial emperor would dare to enter it carefully. After putting away the golden crow egg, Xiao Chen started fiddling with the longevity fruits in his universe ring. His gains in the Sky Dome immortal realm were pretty good. The 19 longevity fruits could bring out their value in the Kunlun realm. That place did not lack old monsters nearing the end of their lifespans. All of them had lived for several hundred years. They would definitely be quite wealthy. Any one of these longevity fruits, which could increase one's lifespan by 100 years, could fetch a sky-high price. There were also a few longevity tree branches that were pretty good. He had been lacking a good medium for the life bestowal spell. The branches of a king-grade spirit tree were definitely sufficient. There were also the spirit cores of several ferocious beasts. After removing the impurities, they contained immortal chi and were barely enough to cultivate for a while. After tidying things up, another dragon pearl appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. He had been in the Sky Dome realm for more than 2 months already. His cultivation had not improved much, but he had obtained a lot of things. This Frost Flood Dragon's Dragon Pearl was definitely the most useful. Even though he did not cultivate ice quintessence, it was sufficient for killing enemies. If he detonated the energy contained in this Dragon Pearl, even a Grandmaster-level martial sage would be severely injured. Coincidentally, he had 3 Starbreaker arrows for sneak attacks and this Dragon Pearl for frontal attacks. Given this, if he ran into a Grandmaster-level martial sage, he would have a trump card to deal with. After using the spirit cores of the ferocious beasts to cultivate for the entire morning, Xiaochen returned to Qingyun Peak. Then, he accompanied Lu Riyue and wandered around the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. They looked at the mountains and rivers, the flowers and grass, far away from the intense, dangerous, and hostile Kunlun realm. Even the word happy was insufficient to describe such peaceful days. The days passed leisurely like this. Aside from the necessary cultivation, Xiaochen spent most of his time on Qingyun Peak with Lu Riyue. Sometimes, when Lu Suifeng frustrated Xiaochen, he would go to the drill ground and teach some things about saber techniques to the group of girls. The leisurely time always passed very quickly. When one was immersed in it, they even forgot about the passage of time. However, what would come would come. On a certain day 2 months later, Xiaochen touched the bottleneck of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 7th layer. Xiaochen circulated his energy slightly, and the sky changed color. Thunderclouds pressed down, and strong winds howled. So, he quickly stopped cultivating. It was not that Xiaochen was afraid of the tribulation. It was that he could not choose the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qingyun Peak to undergo the tribulation. Xiaochen did not explain it to Lu Riyue. He only said a few words to Lu Suifeng before quietly leaving alone. While in midair, Xiaochen turned his head back and looked at this towering Qingyun Peak. This place held too many memories, too many entanglements. I can't get enough of it. Ao Jiao, I will come back alive, right? You have to. Even if you want to die, I will not let you die. Ao Jiao had a ferocious expression as she said, "You even promised me to take revenge for the Thunder King. You are not allowed to die, and you will not die." At Qingyun Peak, where Xiaochen and Lu Suifeng had parted ways, Lu Riyue slowly descended from the sky. She looked at Xiaochen, who had already become a small black dot in the sky, in a daze. "Sis, you already knew from Senior Lung why he left. Why didn't you come out and say one last thing to him? His parting this time was a narrow escape from death." It was very sad, Lu Suifeng said helplessly as he looked at Lu Riyue. Lu Riyue smiled and said, "He did not want me to know. In that case, I will not know. As long as my heart is not in a mess, his heart will not be in a mess either." In the sky, Ao Jiao looked at the path Xiaochen took. She said, "Where are we going now? Since he is undergoing the tribulation, we have to find an absolutely quiet place. Let's go to Mo City first. After I take one more look, I will have no regrets." Xiaochen had already decided on the location of his tribulation long ago. However, before that, he had to make a trip to Mo City and watch the people of his clan from afar. Tearing through space, Xiaochen moved through the air like a meteor chasing the moon. Soon, the familiar silhouette of Mo City entered his vision. After emerging from the void, Xiaochen's figure wavered and arrived in the sky above Seven Horn Mountain. From here, he could see everything in the Shao residence, big or small. Now, the Shao residence had more than doubled in size. Seven Horn Mountain was filled with cultivators wearing the Shao clan's uniform, undergoing experiential training. At the foot of the mountain, the originally simple and crude campsite had been rebuilt into a majestic one. There were elite Shao clan disciples guarding this place, keeping an eye on the other cultivators who were not from the Shao clan. Everything was in order, showing signs of prosperity. Xiaochen could vaguely sense that there was a great fortune enveloping the Shao clan. Luck was ethereal and formless, but it truly existed. The Shao clan's current luck was brought by Xiaochen. Be it obtaining the first rank in the 5-nation youth competition, infusing the luck of the entire Sky Dome realm into him, he would not be able to do so. Furthermore, after absorbing the essence of the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring, Xiaochen's luck had reached a startling level. Xiaochen smiled faintly and relaxed a lot. With the current situation, in addition to the secret treasures, spirit stones, and secret manuals that he had gotten Xiao Jian and Xiao Yulan to bring back, given the Xiao clan's strength, it would be hard for it not to develop. In the future, when Xiao Chen became a martial emperor and collected the Blue Dragon Palace and re-established the Dragon's Gate, these fellow clansmen would be the best foundation. After taking a few more glances, Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze. This time, returning to the Sky Dome realm, regardless of whether he succeeded in clearing his tribulation or not, it was worth it. There was no regret in his heart. There was no fear in his heart. Why are you acting so sneakily? Come out. Suddenly, Xiao Chen frowned. The purple lightning talisman in his sea of consciousness had 4 strands of golden light on it. One strand of golden light came out of Xiao Chen's fingertip and turned into a lightning-fast saber chi. Then, it shot towards the seemingly empty space in front of him. Space was like a piece of white paper. With this finger, it easily tore a pitch-black hole. Silently, the entire space suddenly shattered, not even leaving behind a shard. Teng Xiao, the Dark Church's church master of the Sky Dome realm, walked out of the pitch-black space. He wore black clothes and had a somewhat sinister expression on his face. He looked somewhat similar to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes. The aura of this person was still fresh in his memory. This was the unique dark aura of the Dark Church's members. However, this person's dark aura was much denser. Furthermore, there was an additional sinister aura. Teng Xiao caught that strand of golden saber chi that could shatter space with his finger. However, what shocked Xiao Chen the most was not this scene. Instead, it was this person's appearance. If Xiao Chen recalled correctly, the appearance of the person in the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber was shockingly similar to this person. If not for the dense dark aura of this person and the unconcealable sinister aura on his face, Xiao Chen might have recognized the wrong person from the start. In reality, this person did not even think about concealing this sinister aura. It was like he was born this way, unrestrained by the etiquette and benevolence of the world. He was wild and unrestrained, thinking that he was the greatest in the world. Chapter 864. The golden saber chi was not that easy to catch. Teng Xiao held on to this strand of saber chi and retreated 5 kilometers in the air before he stabilized himself. I have been waiting for you for a long time already. Why did you not come to the Xiao clan? What are you afraid of? Teng Xiao casually tossed aside the golden saber chi that had already been corroded by the dark chi. His gaze was like lightning as he stared at Xiao Chen. Waiting for me? Are you here to send yourself to death? Chu Chaoyun was right. This Sky Dome realm's Dark Church does indeed have some connection to my Xiao clan. Even if you did not come to look for me, I would have come to look for you. Xiao Chen flipped his right hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his palm. His figure flashed, and he executed the starting stance of the lightning tribulation saber technique without holding back. Xiao Chen's 90% comprehended saber intent and 40% comprehended immortal will of thunder allowed this simple starting stance to burst forth with boundless might. As electric light burst forth, it radiated a large amount of light. The slender saber pierced through the electric light and quickly chopped at Teng Xiao. Electricity started to accumulate in the air behind Xiao Chen. As they moved about, sparks flickered everywhere. Teng Xiao had not expected Xiao Chen to fight him the moment he arrived. He smiled coldly, and a slender saber flickering with a cold light appeared in his hand. Teng Xiao Chen gently swung and blocked Xiao Chen's saber. Then he quickly spun around in the air and gave off electric light, dissipating the force in Xiao Chen's saber. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. This mysterious person who resembled the Qing Emperor was not very strong. However, his combat techniques were not something to be underestimated. The moment Xiao Chen executed the starting stance, he completely accumulated the momentum of the lightning tribulation saber technique. The sparks behind him turned into many lightning flood dragons, circling around Xiao Chen. Teng Xiao did not show any weakness. He shook his wrist, and black dragon images swam around behind him. As the two fought, Xiao Chen had an overwhelming advantage in terms of cultivation. However, Teng Xiao relied on his combat experience and did not fall into a disadvantage. Unable to drag things out, Xiaoqun decisively changed his move. He executed a blue dragon goes to sea and gathered a 3-kilometer-long dragon-shaped saber chi. Auspicious clouds surrounded the dragon as it roared ferociously. When Teng Xiao saw this move, his lips could not help but curl up. He smiled and said, "Blue dragon goes to sea, and you dare to use this move before me?" The tip of Teng Xiao's foot pushed against the void, and his body soared up. He stretched out his hand, wanting to grab the dragon's head. Teng Xiao pushed off and soared. Then he shot to the dragon head. However, Xiaoqun already knew the weakness of this move and had already made up for it. How could the other party succeed? Xiaoqun stretched out his hand, and the somewhat rigid dragon-shaped saber chi seemed to come to life. It shook its head and wagged its tail, baring its fangs and claws. Teng Xiao was startled. Clearly, he had not expected such a change. He could not figure out how to grab the dragon head. Without waiting for Teng Xiao to retreat, Xiaoqun shouted, and the dragon-shaped saber chi pressed down ruthlessly. Teng Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and was sent flying 10,000 meters in the void. After Teng Xiao stabilized himself, he laughed loudly, not caring about his injuries. He said loudly, "Good, good, good." Teng Xiao said goods 3 times in a row. Then he continued, "Blue dragon goes to sea, you really used this move beautifully. Indeed, you did not disappoint me. It is impolite not to reciprocate. Receive this move of mine as well. Blue dragon goes to sea." Teng Xiao waved his right hand, and the saber appeared in his palm again. A boundless scarlet sea appeared behind him, filled with white bones and surging resentment. That was a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. A boundless dark aura lingered above the scarlet sea, looking strange and evil. Teng Xiao roared, and a black dragon soared up from the scarlet sea. Its eyes shone with a scarlet light, and its black scales layered over each other. Teng Xiao soared into the air and hacked down with his saber. The black dragon gathered on the saber, forming a strange dragon-shaped saber chi that surged towards Xiaoqun. Xiaoqun revealed a horrified expression. It was not because of the might of this move but because this mysterious dark church cultivator really knew the dragon's subduing slash. Xiaoqun pushed off the air and materialized the stance of soaring dragon, turning into a true dragon and soaring into the sky. Hidden dragon in the depths, soaring dragon in the sky. It was fine if it did not fly, but it soared into the sky. Bang, bang, bang. 3 crisp sounds rang out, and the evil black dragon was forcefully broken into 3 pieces by the stance of soaring dragon that Xiaoqun materialized. After breaking this move, Xiaoqun looked up and discovered that that person had already fled. The mysterious phenomenon of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood also vanished. The dark aura spreading in the sky slowly dissipated. However, the 3 pieces of the black dragon lingered in the air for a long time, as if they had already solidified. Xiaoqun entered deep thought. If this person had not been far weaker than him, this mutated blue dragon goes to sea would not have been easy to deal with. That person earlier seems to be the church master of the Dark Church. 10,000 years ago, he rampaged everywhere. He also contributed to the destruction of the Tianwu dynasty. Ao Jiao said slowly, her eyes filled with doubt. She continued, according to rumor, he was killed by the Holy Lord of the 3 Holy Masters' Holy Land. Why did he appear again today? Xiaoqun did not chase after this person. He felt that this person was just a clone and not the true body. Unexpectedly, there was such a horrifying enemy of unknown origins in the Sky Dome realm. No wonder Xiaoqun's father was so worried back then. If Xiaoqun succeeded in his tribulation, he had to uproot the Dark Church in the Sky Dome realm. The appearance of this mysterious person cast a shadow over Xiaoqun's heart. Not only was this person's appearance strange, but his identity was also suspicious. Why did this person appear in Mo City's Xiao clan? If his clone was already so strong, how strong would his true body be? Chu Chaoyun said that the Dark Church was connected to the Xiao clan. How did this person know? Many doubts appeared in Xiaoqun's mind. He turned his head to look at the bustling Xiao clan and the lively faces. Then, he cleared his mind of distracting thoughts and left with a resolute expression. Half a day later, Xiaochen landed on a desolate island in the boundless sea. There were no humans or beasts on the island. It was a completely desolate island. Similar islands dotted the vast boundless sea like the stars in the sky. They were very ordinary and would not attract the attention of others when undergoing a tribulation. This was the best choice. There was a small mountain on the island. Xiaochen jumped onto it and sat cross-legged at the summit. He looked up at the clear blue sky. Xiaochen took a deep breath. A cool chill came from the sea monarch headscarf on his forehead, causing his entire body to calm down, both inside and out. After spitting out a long breath of turbid qi, Xiaochen closed his eyes and started to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation. The power of natural laws quickly circulated in his meridians. Not long after, a thunderous sound rang out in his body. Lightning flashed in the mysterious small world in his dantian. The blue dragon martial spirit swam around carefully, dodging the lightning. The dantian was the most mysterious place in a cultivator's body. It looked like a pearl, hanging between the belly button and the sternum. However, if one cut open the belly of a cultivator, one would not see the so-called dantian. The dantian was not an organ, bone, or flesh. It existed between reality and illusion. It was a world of its own, containing the cultivator's essence, quintessence, and heavenly sage laws. A cultivator used their body as a vessel. Actually, this referred to the space in the dantian. The size and toughness of this space determined how much quintessence and spiritual energy a cultivator could contain. The dantian was the cornerstone of this small world. If the dantian was destroyed, the small world would cease to exist. Naturally, the cultivator would be crippled. Rumor had it that once one reached the level of Emperor Wu, one would grasp heavenly laws and be compatible with the world. One could change this small world, materializing a world of mountains and rivers. At this moment, this small world was filled with lightning. The tiny blue dragon martial spirit dodged everywhere. However, it still found it hard to escape. Occasionally, it would get struck by lightning. Every time it struck, Xiaochen felt like he was experiencing it himself. Every cell in his body, his internal organs, his flowing blood, his tough bones, and his skin, endured the baptism of lightning. Even the depths of his soul were trembling, enduring great torment. There were no visible changes to Xiaochen's outer appearance. He sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, silently circulating the purple thunder divine incantation. However, his physical body and soul were suffering from both torment and boundless pain. Xiaochen's entire body felt like thousands of silver needles were stabbing him continuously. He clenched his teeth and endured. To him, who cultivated the physical body, such pain was not unbearable. However, the blue dragon martial spirit in Xiaochen's dantian became dispirited and listless. It looked like it would disappear at any moment. However, Xiaochen's heart was as clear as a mirror. Under the tempering of the lightning, the inner charm of the blue dragon martial spirit became even more spirited. It was filled with a divine nature, as if a true soul was condensed within it. The lightning tribulation of the martial spirit lasted for half a day before it finally stopped. Several sticky black impurities flowed out of Xiaochen's body. Xiaochen's heavenly sage laws shook the impurities off his body and scattered them with the wind. This martial spirit tribulation had been extremely arduous. However, Xiaochen had gained a lot as well. Using this opportunity, his peak rank 2 sage body finally broke through to rank 3 sage body. Xiaochen thought to himself, now that I'm at full power, I should be able to achieve 1,500 tons of force. That would be another breakthrough. Xiaochen's physical body's recovery ability and ability to resist attacks had also improved. Even without a cultivation technique or martial technique that specialized in protecting the body, Xiaochen's physical body was much stronger than before. Xiaochen's defense should have already reached the level of a Grandmaster-level martial sage. After all, a regular Grandmaster-level martial sage's physical body would barely reach the level of a rank 2 sage body. Xiaochen did not specialize in vital qi, so he could not compare to Xiaochen. However, Xiaochen did not know how his martial spirit was doing now. The blue dragon martial spirit in his dantian was now only a small spot of light. It was incredibly bright, but he could not sense it at all. Startling thunder roared by his ears. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and looked at the sky. Boundless thunderclouds stretched for thousands of kilometers, churning and extremely heavy. The sky seemed to be several times lower than usual. With just a gentle leap, it would be within reach. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky, and thunder roared continuously. The seawater churned endlessly, kicking up huge waves. The entire island shook. The island was like a lone boat that had left the ground, bobbing up and down in the seawater. The wind and clouds moved, and the sky changed color. Rivers and seas churned. Thunderclouds covered the ground, and a myriad of phenomena appeared. It was like a deity in the sky was glaring at Xiao Chen. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.